Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. Today I want to talk about the reaction to the South Africa versus Ireland series. The loss yesterday by a single point, the 1-1 series, the words that were said by both coaches from last night, as well as the reaction we have seen from the fans. It's been very interesting. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. We are past 70,000 subscribers, so a big thank you to everybody who has subscribed. If you are not getting the notifications for the videos, please make sure you turn on those notifications. Click the little bell under the video so that you get notified every single time we post new content and the likes. Let's get into it, shall we? The Springboks yesterday went down to Ireland by a single point, having come back from 16-6 down to eventually lead Ireland and then going down in literally the 81st minute. Phenomenal drop goal. Two drop goals, actually, really, from Currie. Now, I want to talk about the reaction because social media is abuzz with lots of chat about last night. And I just find it so funny how last week and the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we've been talking about this, the golden Springbok era. You know, is this the best place South African rugby's ever been? Look at the depth we've got. Phenomenal. Best team in the world. Undoubtedly the best team in the world. Etc, etc, etc. Currie pulls up two brilliant individual pieces of play, a phenomenal, drop goal right at the end, and all of a sudden, the tactics are wrong. Rassie Erasmus needs to go. We need a new team. Tony Brown needs to go. You know, we moved away from our DNA. You know, Paf de Klerk needs to retire. Andre Pollard needs to be replaced. We need to bin Sashafami Gomazulu. We need to, I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? How quickly we change our tune as fans in the heat of the moment. And this is why I like doing this video the next day, because I've woken up this morning and I have gone on social media. I relived last night and I've come to terms with it. To be fair, I come to terms with it pretty quickly after the game, because as a rugby fan, you watch that Currie moment and the only thing you can do is sit back and go, wow, or fair play. You know, it was an incredible rugby moment. And I don't think the Boks were at their best last week or this week, to be honest. I think we haven't quite seen that sort of Bok performance that we saw sometimes during the World Cup. That Bok performance, for example, versus New Zealand in August last year. So we've not been at our best. We are definitely changing. We are definitely trying to evolve. There's so much evidence of that. We are trying to play differently. Now, is it going brilliantly? No, maybe not. Have we played less than 300 minutes of the system? Yes. To freak out about the fact that we're going away from our DNA, we've lost what makes us good, is so premature. We have played 3 games since the World Cup, people. That wouldn't even be an entire Six Nations campaign. And if there was a Six Nations campaign, for example, we'd be 2 out of 3 wins and probably, set, in it to potentially win. I don't know why I'm making a Six Nations comparison. I'm just saying. So we need to relax a little bit, people. I think we need to just calm down, take a deep breath, and look at yesterday holistically. And what I saw yesterday was an incredible 20-minute effort from the Boks after half-time, which showed us exactly how we can play. Look at the relentless pressure, for example. I mean, 24 points yesterday, all off the boot of Andre Pollard, shows us that a side like Ireland, who are not ill-disciplined, by the way, they're one of the most disciplined side in the world. We put them under immense amount of pressure. You know, we weren't great in that first half. A couple of silly penalties, a great try from Ireland, must be said. And, we were behind, but we got back into that game. We had some really good moments. And I also think yesterday, we saw the injuries play a big role. You know, we were very lucky in the first test for not having to deal with injuries. Yesterday, for example, Franco Moster going off early, Billy Roo going off early. You know, those are 2 massive players for the Boks. I mean, that's almost 160-odd caps that you lose when those 2 players go off. Franco Moster is the line-out general, for example, and he's the one that runs the line and is one of our best tacklers, one of the most efficient players around the park. You've got Billy Roo, who's our playmaker. You know, he creates so many opportunities, and you lost that. Now, I think Sashafami Gomazulu had a decent game. I think he had some really good moments. We obviously saw the runs from him, and had some bad moments. You know, the kicks into touch, for example. I think that whole thing about him carrying the ball into touch, I think that's a bit harsh. He can't take that chance. You know, you're running straight to the line. You know, that ball bobbles up. You're right by the touch line. Nobody is leaving that ball. You know, I think to try and criticize for that, I think just shows a lack of understanding for the game. You know, you're not going to take that chance. You've got James Lowe behind you. What if that ball bobbles up and James Lowe, jumps, gets ahead of you, touches that ball back inside, he goes over and scores. You don't take that chance. He did everything right by grabbing that ball and going into touch. I'm sorry, I will die on that hill. You can't take a chance like that. At the end of the day, we should have defended better, for example, and shouldn't have been in that space. But let's look at it for the positives, for example. Those two teams yesterday were the best in the world, are the best in the world. I've got no issue saying that. I think France on their day can probably get quite close. And I think New Zealand, if once they sort their shit out, might get there. But I think that they've lost so many players that they're trying to still adapt to. I think it'll take a while before they get there. I think England's on the right path. But I don't think there's any two teams who are just as close to the Ireland and South Africa at the moment. And the fact that, one test by 7 points, one test by 1 point, two very close encounters shows you how good these sides are. And I don't know why we need to freak out about that. Humble in the victory, humble in defeat. I've actually really enjoyed the interaction I've seen between, especially on the channel. I think that's the nice thing. On, like, for example, certain social media has been very, very tribal. A lot of tribalism, for example, in terms of the way that we've interacted. But I think on the channel, for example, I've seen so many positive responses from Irish fans saying they really enjoyed engaging with the South Africans during the tour, and even the ones that are here, they said they've had a fantastic time. I think a lot of South African fans are saying they've really enjoyed the way the Irish carried themselves. It's a very nice rivalry. It's a big rivalry, and I think we kept trying to make it a bit of I mean, I'm trying to think of the right words here, but to try and make it a bit more serious than it really is. I think there's massive respect between the two coaches staff. I think it was a bit of a grudge match, but I don't think it was that hostile. For example, I don't think there was a nasty side to it, if you're being brutally honest. I think it was just two great teams going up against each other. In terms of looking to the future, the Boks are going to rotate this weekend. We're going to see a whole brand new team basically on Saturday against Portugal. We're going to see Moni Bok back in the mix. We're going to see, Andre Esterhazen. Nakanja Am's going to be back in the mix. We're going to see players like Ben Jason Dixon, for example, Johan Krobelov. We're going to see someone who probably get a chance to start. We're going to see a potential debut, I reckon, from Warner van den Berg. So we're going to see the next generation this weekend. So take your loss yesterday. I'm taking the loss. We must take our loss yesterday. Park it, say, right, unlucky, let's look to the future. I don't think we need to panic. I don't think we are, we've dished the Bok DNA, but Rassie Erasmus has said how they had to develop from 2019 to 2023 to win that World Cup. This is now the next phase that we've got to keep changing it. If we keep doing things the same, people learn it, people study it, and people can stop it. We are starting to try a few different things. It's not always going to work. It's going to take a while to get things going. Tony Brown's had a whole 2 months with the team yet. Let's see how we're looking in a year's time, in 2 years' time. These things take time. I mean, this Irish side's been together for about 4 years now, and been playing fantastic rugby for the last 2 to 3 years. The coaching staff's been the same, for example. The core of the team has been the same. Yes, there have been some big changes, for example. Johnny Sexton moving on was obviously a massive change of 10, but Jack Carly stepped in. But their DNA and the way they play and the group has largely been the same for a while now. We are now seeing a difference in the coaching staff, in an attack coach, new defense coach, for example. There are going to be tweaks to the system. And it's going to take time to get things right. So I don't think we need to panic, people. I think that's the main thing. Chill a little bit. Enjoy your Sundays. Stop stressing about it. Big shout out to Ireland. What a team they are. What a set of fans they are. I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully see you guys very soon. From a staff perspective, hopefully we can get one overview when we go to Ireland. The next time we go over in an Autumn Nation series. So I don't think it's this year, but hopefully it will be next year. But yeah, let's just enjoy it. Let's just talk about the fact it was great for Peter Rugby. I mean, Kieran Forley, for example, misses that. We win by 2 points, and I think the entire rhetoric and the reaction was completely different. All of a sudden, we'd be talking about, how good this generation is, 2-0, and, we're the best team in the world. And I don't think one drop goal changes that. It's a game that could go either way. It's a game that went the wrong way for us, and it's a game of margins. Take it on the chin, move on. Let's get excited about Portugal, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, it's a very cool occasion for Portugal themselves to play against the Springboks for the first time. We are going to see a new generation. Then we have a bit of a break and win to the Rugby Championship. A Rugby Championship I think we should and can win. And that's going to be exciting. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Should we be panicking? Should we not be panicking? I don't see the point of panicking. Personally, what do you think? Let me know. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon. Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for an update from the Springbok camp, which came late yesterday and confirms a couple of things about this weekend. A couple of players have exited the camp for a while, a couple of injuries as well as personal reasons, whilst 5 players have been added to the squad ahead of the Portuguese test this weekend. After this, we expect to see a different squad being named for the Rugby Championship, and probably potentially even a different squad for that will actually travel to Australia as opposed to one which will actually be sort of the broader sort of training squad for the Rugby Championship. Ireland series done and dusted, so very much now on to the next step. And what is the next step is the question. For me, the next step is the Rugby Championship and winning the Rugby Championship. You know, a lot of people talking about the fact that, oh, now's the time to start building depth. And yes, it is to a certain degree. But I don't think it should be at the expense of trying to win the Rugby Championship. So personally, I would like to see us send a very strong squad over to Australia and get 2 wins over there. Come back, try and beat New Zealand twice, at least once, for example. Wrap up the Rugby Championship. And then we sort of take a more experimental squad when we go overseas at the end of year tour. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see exactly how the approach that we do take. In terms of the Bok Camp and what we have out of it. So, a press release yesterday was released last night, yesterday about 4 o'clock, saying that Springbok coach Rassie has called up 5 players to the squad for the closing test. A 41 man squad now featuring 7 uncapped players. I don't think those 7 uncapped players will be. There won't be 7 uncapped players off this weekend. We will see new caps. I think. So the big news is that Franco Moss and Edward van der Merwe have been ruled out with injuries. Massive frustration that for Edward van der Merwe, who I think would have started this weekend. Picked up an injury early on against the Islands and obviously back bad enough for him to be ruled out for this weekend. Apparently the extent of the injuries will be confirmed on Monday. I do think Edward van der Merwe will stick around that squad. Obviously Franco Moss is a player that will obviously feature for the squad and for me be very important come the Rugby Championship. Damon Delendi was permitted to exit the camp due to personal reasons. Now, the very big news is that capped Springboks and Albert Lowe and Instuka Tunu, as well as uncapped box in the form of Kuhn Horn, Andrew Hugo Fenter, and Ruan Fenter, who've all been part of the alignment camps, have joined the current group of players, including 8 of the 9 players who released their provincial unions last week to participate in the Currie Cup. So very exciting. In terms of the plan for this weekend, and by the way, we are going to be putting up a Springbok prediction video, trying to look at sort of what the squad could potentially be. But Rassie Rasmus said it was always part of our planning to expose a few players to top-class international rugby against Portugal in line with our objectives to build squad depth with an eye on the 2027 Rugby World Cup. He said some of the players had a taste of international rugby against Wales at Twickenham, others received an opportunity off the bench against Ireland, and Andrew Hugo Fenter toured with us to London for the Wales test. So we are delighted with the quality of the players coming through the ranks. Portugal are a quality team, as they showed in the Rugby World Cup last year by defeating Fiji, and we have no doubt they'll want to make a strong statement against us. So although we may mix things up for this test, we'll select a quality team that we have full faith in to get our season back on track. He then said the players we plan to release will continue to put in the hard yards to prepare the team that will face Portugal, as we generally do with the non-players, which is invaluable in preparing the team as well as possible. Speaking about the season and the loss, for example, Rassie Rasmus said that this is a long and challenging season, and as much as it would have been great to win both matches against Ireland, it's vital that we manage the players well to allow them to regenerate in order to maximize their performance throughout the season. Those players will have 10 days off, which means they'll be fresh when they rejoin the squad before the Rugby Championship. Obviously names his team against Portugal tomorrow. So, very, very interesting. For example, I was almost expecting to see Ruben van Heeren, called up potentially because of the injury to Frank and Moscow, which means that, will we then suddenly see Eben Etzebeth, for example, this weekend? Will we potentially see Ruan Fenter at lock, for example, or Ben Jason Dixon at lock, for example? It's Ben Jason Dixon listed as a loose forward, as is Ruan Fenter in the squad, but we know they can potentially play at lock if needs be. So interesting to see. I think we might see a couple of debuts this weekend. I think at a very minimum, we're going to see a debut from Johan Krobelaar, as well as a debut for Morne van den Berg, who I believe will be involved. Whether we'll see the likes of a Jan Hendrik Wessels, for example, or Kuhn Horn, does remain to be seen. Which players would you like to see on that team list when it gets released tomorrow? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon. And welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's Springbok team prediction for Portugal, it's gotten a little bit harder after 5 players were added to the squad yesterday, and very interesting to see exactly what the decision is going to be with regards to selection. Are we going to see basically a brand new 23, which I think we more or less will be? I think the players who have come off the bench and maybe haven't got as much game time will probably be in the starting lineup, for example, and I do think we are going to see, for me at least, 2, maybe even 3 or more caps this weekend or debuts this weekend. So it's going to be very exciting. And look, Portugal side can't be underestimated. It did beat Fiji in the World Cup last year. So, it is going to be a reasonably stern test. Not quite the test we're going to see from, for example, Wales a couple of years ago when we go down in Bloemfontein. So hopefully we'll have a much better result for the Bloemfontein locals. Before we get into the team, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. This is what I've gone with. And I think one thing that we do know is we're going to see a final debut for Johan Krobbelaar because, first of all, he's been mentioned by Rassie Erasmus throughout the past few weeks. Very highly rated, known as Crobbies, as Rassie Erasmus keeps mentioning him in the sort of the presses, and has confirmed that he is the third choice hooker. So I do think we're going to see him start this weekend. In the front row, I think Gerard Steenekamp will join him in the starting lineup. I think that he's made 2 very good cameos, for example, off the bench, and now it's an opportunity for him to start. And at tight head, well, we've only got 2 tight heads in the squad that haven't played yet, in Thomas Toy and Trevor Nyakane. I expect to see both of those players in the lineup. I don't think we'll see Vincent Koch this weekend or Frans Malherbe. Maybe Vincent, probably more than Frans Malherbe. But I do think that we'll probably see Thomas Toy and Trevor Nyakane in the mix. The locks are an interesting one. There's an injury to Franco Mostert, so he will not be available for this weekend. We have not called up a lock, though. I wonder if we might look at Ruben van Heerden, but not. So for me, Stalin Murat will definitely start. The question is who partners him. I think Arke Stam potentially gets to start. The fact that we call up Ruben Venter and have Ben Jason Dixon in the squad, 2 players who can play at lock if needs be. Wonder if they might cover lock there, or we might see another game from Evan Etzebeth, but it wouldn't surprise me if they give him an opportunity to rest. I think Malcolm is starting to the start. I think Sieg Lees will be given a bit of a break. And I think Ulrich Lowe being called to the side means that he potentially might start. I'd like to see Ben Jason Dixon start, to be perfectly honest. I wonder if that might be the case as well, but we'll kind of have to wait and see. And at number 8, I expect it to be Evan Roos. The other option could potentially see, an Evan Roos, an Ulrich Lowe at 8, for example, Evan Roos off the bench. Peps Boetelazy, obviously, he comes into the mix as well. So interesting to see how they go there. Mooi van den Berg, I think, will play this weekend. And I've got a weird, sneaky suspicion that he might start. I've been watching the training. He's been very heavily involved. I think they really do rate him as the sort of Faf de Klerk, replacement long term. I think him and Grant Williams and Jaden Hendrickson, when he makes the return, are going to be our scrum halves, moving forward. If we look at fly half, Marinebach for me will slot back in at 10, and we haven't seen him so far. He is the number 2 fly half, as confirmed by Rassie Erasmus. I think he will start this weekend. The rest of the back line will be the players I think you just haven't played. So we're going to have Michael Norma Pimpy in at wing, I'm sure. 14, given the injury to Edel van der Merwe, I think we'll see Kurt Garens, Apelele Fatsi at 15. Other options could be a Sashfami Gomezulu starting at 15, Apelele Fatsi on the wing. We could see Kieran Horn starting or on the wing or at 15, for example. The centers, I think, for me, are pretty easy to protect. I think it's going to be Andre Estes and Lekanya. And then off the bench, I think Andre Hugo Venter, who's been called back into the squad, will get a debut off the bench. Instuka Unu also called into the squad. He was also on media duty on a Monday, usually an indication that he's going to be involved. And then Trevor Nyakane or Thomas Toy, if it doesn't start, will likely be on the bench. I'm going with Ben J. Sticks on the bench. He might start, in which case you got Albert Lowe on the bench. And, Ben J. Dixon does cover lock if he needs to. Peps Boetelazy, I think, also potentially make his debut this weekend. Been in and around that squad for a while now. Hasn't got an opportunity. Of course, Ryan has not played yet, so I can't expect to see him. I wouldn't be massively surprised if we see Grant Williams. But, we've got so many scrum halves in the side, in the squad, that I think, they all want to try and give people a chance. And then after that, if he doesn't start, Sashfami Gomezulu will definitely be on the bench. And I'd really like to see an opportunity for Kwan Horn, especially in the back of that Velu, HIA. I think we need to start testing our 15's depth. I thought Sashfami Gomezulu showed, aspects of how good he can be, as well as a bit nervy at times. So not played a lot at 15. Kieran Horn, Apelele Fatsi, far more experience in that position. So I think we'll look to try and test that depth as well. In terms of captaincy, Kanya is the obvious candidate. If you look at that side, if they decide to go with an Evan Etzebeth, for example, and keep him in the side, then I think that he potentially would obviously probably take the captaincy. But what do you think? What change would you make? And who would you like to see this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon. Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. Massive news. The 66th Springbok captain has officially been announced. with Salman Murat set to lead the side against Portugal for the first time ever in his career. A massive, massive call from Rassie Erasmus and the coaching staff in what is a very interesting team that has been named to face Portugal. New debutants involved in the side as well. Uncapped players in the starting lineup include Pepsi Buthelezi, Johan Krabbelaar, and Jan-Hendrik Wessels, whilst Andre Hugo Venter, Ruan Venter, Morne van den Berg, and Horn could be in line to make their test debuts this weekend as well. Moniba back in at 10. BITDEFENDER gets a start at 15. Lekanya back in the side as well. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss. Very interesting. I mean, we were going to see changes, but it still remains a very interesting side. And Rassie Erasmus, well, if there's anybody that can still surprise us, it continues to be him. And there are definitely a few surprises in this lineup as well. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. This is how we will line up against Portugal. Very, very interesting. In the front row, Jan-Hendrik Wessels has skipped to the front of the queue and will make his Springbok debut, starting at loose head. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's not played a lot of rugby for the Bulls this season, and he's highly rated by the Boks, but has not been, not been a regular for the Bulls. If we look at his season, for example, he plays just 362 minutes across the entire season. He's starting 4 out of 10 games and played all of those games as either the starting hooker or the reserve hooker. So he's not played a single game this year at loosehead. If you look at last season, for example, he also did not play a single game at loosehead. So the last time he actually ended up playing a professional match at loosehead, I think goes back to, I don't know if he's ever actually played at loosehead for the Bulls. So it's a very, very strange decision for someone who's 23 years old and not played as much rugby as we'd probably like. If you look at his career, for example, he's played just 29 matches in his career. He's played less than 800 minutes for the Bulls. Gets to start at loosehead. So the Springbok coach staff obviously sees something in him that maybe even the Bulls don't see. Jan Krabbelaar gets his long-awaited test debut. This is very deserved. He's really had to grind hard for this opportunity. He was there in about 2022, then got injured, and kind of sort of fell to the wayside a little bit, and is now back in the side and will finally get his debut. Thomas Latoy, as expected, does start. Salman Murat started his darkest statement. When I did my prediction yesterday, I had both those players starting. Didn't expect to see Salman Murat in as captain. He was a former junior Springbok captain, and he led the SS Schools. He's the current Stormers captain. So he's obviously a leader. That's something that you can't argue. It doesn't matter what side he seems to be in, what kind of environment, he always seems to be given the captaincy. So I think he must be an incredible person in the squad. To be given this backing, it's incredible. And it's the third different captain we've had this year, by the way. So a very interesting one over there. So yeah, he's at SS Schools, Junior Springbok, the HS Stormers. Very keen to see how he goes. A lot of people even question him being in the squad, let alone being given the captaincy. If we look at the rest of the side, for example, Lucio there, Pepsi Buthelezi at 6. We saw the Sharks being sort of deploying him over there. Plumtree spoke about the fact that he reckons he could get a Sia Khaleesi type player, and the Boks obviously agreeing. I wonder if there was a little bit of input from the Boks in making that sort of transition. Ben Jason Dixon gets his first start in Springbok jersey as well after coming off the bench against Wales. Very much deserved as well. And then Evan Lewis will get another run out. I was only knowing between Kobus Reinach and Morne van den Berg for who will start. It will be Kobus Reinach who will partner Moenie Bok, who returns to the side as expected. The rest of the backline predicted, as I said yesterday. Maxwell Pimpy, Currie, Arndt, and BITDEFENDER as the back three. I think it would have been Edwin van der Merwe had he been fit, but unfortunately that injury ruling him out. And then the centre pairing of Andre Esterhuizen next to Lekanya is also pretty expected. If we look at the bench, a front replacement of Andre Hugo Venter, Nsuka Kluno, and Trevor Nyakane. So two youngsters with the veteran in Trevor, who probably needs to, I don't think will be around for another sort of too many more years. Ruan Venter was called to the squad for the first time yesterday and will potentially get his debut this weekend. Interesting that he is there covering potentially lock as well as flank, can play at 4 as well as 7. You've got Ben Jason Dixon who could do similar, and Albert Lowe as well. And the back of another impressive URC season is back in the squad and set to get another opportunity off the bench. And then debuts in waiting for two Lions players in Morne van den Berg and Koen Horn.
Very excited to see how they go. I think BITDEFENDER is quite highly rated by the Springbok staff, and I think Currie has been a Springbok in waiting for the last 2 years. Been playing such good rugby. Brilliant skill set, deceptively strong, and knows how to score tries. Got really good game awareness, nice boot as well. And Sashfai Magomazulu will continue to notch up some minutes coming off the bench, and I think we'll probably see him at 10 when he comes on, given the fact that we now have a genuine 15 replacement as well. If we look at, for example, some of the stats, for example, and Rassie Erasmus talking about sort of obviously building experience. It is the total caps for this starting up is 228, down from 990 last week. It shows you how little caps there are. And interestingly enough, usually the forwards dominate the caps. If we've seen the last few games, very much different in this lineup with 161 caps in the back line, 67 caps among the forwards, and just 75 on the bench. If we look at what Rassie Erasmus has to say, particularly about Salman Murat, he said the following. He said, Salman commands respect from his teammates, so we'd like to congratulate him on this achievement, and we have no doubt that he'll take on this responsibility as well as he has for the other teams he has led. He has come through the SA Rugby ranks, and he went on to captain the Junior Springboks and SA Schools teams, as well as the DHL Stormers and Western Province, which speaks volumes about his quality as a player and captain. The match marks, as I'm talking about the first couple of times we're going to see Rugby World Cup winners. Speaking about the whole sort of squad, Rassie Erasmus said as follows. He said, most of the so-called younger players have been exposed to Test rugby in one way or another, by either playing against Wales or Ireland or have been around the squad. So they are well aware of the standards we expect on the field and the way we do things. All of the uncapped players, apart from BITDEFENDER, were also members of our training squad in June, and we were very impressed with the way they fitted into our structure and their work ethic. We have full faith in their abilities, and we're excited to see what they offer on the field on Saturday. He says the squad also includes a few Rugby World Cup winners and experienced campaigners who will play a vital role in guiding the young players and keeping things calm in the pressure situations. So, very interesting to sort of see how things go. Monty Leibach requires 13 points, by the way, to get to 100 test points. He's got up there very, very quickly. And it's going to be the first test, by the way, between the Springboks and Portugal. Let me know what you think about the team down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon. Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And some interesting news. Rassie Erasmus is currently, as we speak, giving his pre-match press conference, team announcement press conference, ahead of the Springboks' first ever match against Portugal this weekend. In case you have missed it, Salman Murat is in as captain, a bunch of new uncapped players, as well as some new players on the bench. But more importantly, maybe, looking sort of into the Rugby Championship, is that he has also given an injury update on a few of the players, and not good news at all, with Edel van der Merwe, Franco Mostert, as well as Pierre-Steph du Toit, all set to be out for quite a while, which extends the sort of, I wouldn't say injury crisis or so, but there are a pretty long list of players who are currently unavailable for the Springboks. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So over the Ireland series and for this Portugal test, we have been without the likes of Steven Kitsoff, Lourt de Jager, Jean Klein, Jasper Wiese has been suspended, for example. Cameron Hanekom has been injured as well. And so we have been missing quite a few players. Jaden Hendrickse currently out. So there are definitely quite a few players, Kenny Moody as well, who have been missing already. I play a list of about 6 or 7. And now that has actually unfortunately been lengthened. So Franco Mostert has got a broken leg apparently, and is out for 6 weeks at least. Sounds like it should be more, so I think maybe broken leg might be a little bit of a trivial way of having put it. Maybe a bit more complicated than that. It seemed more like a sort of a knee injury when he sort of walked off with a bit of a limp. The big news though is Edel van der Merwe as well ruled out for 6 weeks, which was heartbreaking for him because I do think he was in line to play again against Portugal, and I think he might have had an outside shot of going to Australia. And then Pierre-Steph du Toit, one of the most inexpensive players from the box, is also set to be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. He's definitely apparently out of the Australia tour and will be in a bit of a race against time to face New Zealand at the end of August. So luckily there is a bit of a break between now and those All Black tests, because we've got Portugal this weekend, then we've got a break, then we've got Australia for 2 weeks, then we've got a break. So there is time, hopefully, for some of these players to hopefully get back into it. The likes, I think, Kenny Moody will come available quite soon. hopefully Pieter-Steph du Toit can be ready for that All Blacks test. I think Jasper Wiese becomes available after the Australasia tour and will be available for the All Blacks. I think from my understanding, Cameron Hanekom potentially could be ready as well, sort of beginning of August. Interesting to see maybe he might make the Australia tour. So it's not great news from a Springbok perspective, but silver lining, I suppose, we're going to have to be forced to look at our depth. So for example, 3 locks now out. Eamon Etzebeth, the only lock remaining really from the 5 we took to the World Cup. No Marvin Orie in the squad. And Arcus Neyman is there, but no Franco Mostert, no Jean Klein, and Lua Diago didn't make it to the Springbok to the World Cup squad, but as a previous World Cup winner. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to sort of extend our lock depth. And interesting to see, for example, that Ruan Venter is covering lock this weekend. Ben Jason Dixon is also something that can cover lock, but also interesting given those injuries, we haven't called in somebody like a Ruben van Heerden. In terms of Pieter-Steph du Toit, well, I think it's a big game for Jason Dixon this weekend. You can really, I think for me, put his hand up and put himself into that potential role as the succession plan for Pieter-Steph du Toit, because I do think that he plays a very similar type of game. So there's definitely spots up for grabs here. Opportunity in the lock. Salman Murat needs to try and put his hand up. Maybe Ruan Venter. In the flanks, for example, Ren Jason Dixon, Ulrich Lowe, they're going to go toe-to-toe. Evan Roos got a massive opportunity this weekend to just try and keep himself maybe a little bit ahead of a Cameron Hanekom or a Cocker Smith from starting, for example, and getting ready for when Jasper Wiese comes back. So it's an interesting time because spots in the squad, I think, are so competitive. Steven Kitshoff comes back, who's going to drop out? Obviously this weekend, like the likes of Jan Hendrik Wessels and stuff like that. Gerard Stennekamp had a very nice tournament for his or couple games. So I do think that things are very competitive within the squad as well. And that's why we haven't really focused on the injuries. But there is a pretty large injury list growing, almost up to about 10 players. No Damien Willemse, so I don't know why I completely forgot to mention him. He still remains out as well. So, we're talking about in terms of starters. Pieter-Steph du Toit is a starter. Franco Mostert's a starter. Steven Kitshoff is a starter. Damien Willemse is a starter, for example. So we are missing Jasper Wiese, probably a starter as well. We are missing quite a few players in amongst the squad. So very interesting now opportunity to see how we manage this with regards to building that depth, but also remaining competitive, because we want to win the Rugby Championship. We want to, continue winning test matches. I really strongly despise the idea of results between the World Cups aren't important. Of course they're important. You don't want to go out and lose 12 tests. If they weren't important, then why do we sack Alistair Coetzee? You never got to a World Cup. So everyone says results aren't important until we start losing 2 or 3 games. That is the biggest problem. We sit there saying, no, results aren't important. Before the game, we say results aren't important, experiment. And after the game, we sit there saying, we should never be losing to this team. So I think sometimes we can be a little bit inconsistent. But it is a very interesting time coming up. So big blows to the box, but big opportunities for players as well. Let me know down in the comments below who you think can potentially step up. Which players are you really missing the most? I want to know in the comments. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.
Just so that we give everybody a chance to ask questions, please raise your hand for questions and ask one question at a time. If we have time for a second, we'll come back for that.
Coach, my name is Lewamba from Rugby State. I just want to find out with you. You added 5 players into your squad. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, no, into the squad or into the starting lineup? I didn't mean 5 players.
Yes, the squad that you're about to announce.
There's 7 uncapped players in the squad, but the 5 that joined.
Yes.
You mean that joined the camp
Yes,
this
yes,
week?
yes.
But those were the guys who were at the lineman camps, and we've always planned for them to be part of this week. Sorry, I misunderstood your question. Sorry about that. We were hoping to, after the second win against Ireland, which we didn't get, we were really hoping to give the other guys the rest. And to give these young guys who's had alignment camps with us a chance. I feel one drop goal shouldn't change your whole mindset and your whole over emotional and not do it. So all of those guys, they deserve to be here. Sorry for that answer.
Rossi, just maybe, do you have an update on Franco Mostert and maybe Canon Moody as well?
Yeah, Kanan will be ready next week, as I understand. 100% ready. Franco is 6 weeks. I think he broke his leg. Malcolm, I just said now he's got a little bit of a tibia fracture there when he got injured. And who's the other one? Edwell is out for 6 weeks. And also another one, Pieter-Steph, looks like he's 4 to 6 weeks. But Albie looks like ready for the second week of Australia, but part obviously from the guys I said 6 weeks.
Rossi, but just to follow on that, that obviously makes some of the younger guys their roles more important this week, given the injuries.
Yeah, we would love him to follow up Sia, not as the similar mode style of play. We don't have a typical open side. He's been living almost with Sia, trying to understand what he's doing. And Sia's strength is ball carrying and blasting and rucks and really clean out well. And Sia can steal balls as well. And obviously likes to help Don in the scrums. And it's not really a liner jumping option. And I think he's got the mold and the body to do that. So hopefully we can get that out of him. And then Ben Jason Dixon is somebody that's very similar to Peter Steff, in the way he plays. You'll see that Ruan is on the bench, who's not a typical lock. But he's definitely got the body for somebody who can play front lock and 7 flank. And you might do some height then, but then you've got Ben Jason, who can probably call the lineouts for you if Ergia or Salman is not on the field. So we've tried to do our succession planning, and we've tried to do it that loss against Ireland doesn't influence our mindset. Like we did in 2020, when we didn't have rugby, we would have done the same thing. Now we get the opportunity, now we must stick with it.
Rossi, welcome back in Bloom.
Thanks.
A couple of debutants, as has been mentioned already, but two that's really stand out. Andre Kupenter, we know his pedigree. So as a coach, it's pretty exciting to be able to name a kid like this on the bench, especially, if I remember correctly, he played with his dad, and then Jan-Hendrik Wessels, another kid from Bloem, also a big opportunity for him this weekend.
Yeah, the fact that, I also had a father. He didn't play great rugby, but he told me he played Kosses League there at the Onderwijs College in Graafrenet. I think he was also proud of me. So I think his father, I think everybody's father, but he's great. Me and Andre played almost 30 test matches together, I think, as flankers. Also 6 and 7 not. I think that's where the trend started in South Africa, where we didn't play open side and blind side. I think we were like the first guys. I think who was it? Nick Mallet put us 6 and 7. So it's great for him. It doesn't, but it looks like it happens often. I don't know how many guys his father has played Springbok and then his son does it well. But then Jan-Hendrik Wessels, I think they're the same age. I think they played next to one another. He's somebody that we're really, really excited about. I think he's somebody that you can look for at the World Cup, who you might not even have to take 5 props. You can take 4 hookers if you want to. Then you can maybe take 1 old hooker still with, if a guy like him can swing on both sides. But we're going to play him prop this weekend where he's comfortable, where he always plays for our EBD systems. But and then Grobbies, we're very excited about him. He's been waiting, and always somebody gets a chance before him with most of the players. And I can go on through the list, and I think every single player should be proud. It's a proper test match in Bloemfontein in front of a sellout crowd.
And sorry, just on the sold-out crowd, it's incredible for the people to come out and support a team for so-called lower tier nation.
Well, it's a team that, when I spoke to the Irish boys Saturday, I went to the change room and just said, not that I think we're too sirgat. And I spoke to most of them and said, we're playing Portugal. And I said, don't underestimate them. They actually beat them before the World Cup. That was the first thing they said. And then the second thing, they beat Fiji in the World Cup. We obviously analysed them. It's going to be a busy game. We're going to be all over the field. I think they're going to run away from our set pieces and try and move us around. That's definitely fact. But the sellout crowd, to come back to that makes it, I think, special for a guy like Jan-Hendrik Wessels and the guys who was at Grey and what's his name, Andre Hugo. It's special for me every single time. I remember when in 90, whatever it was built, I always used to go and sit in this pavilion, and I thought, I want to play one day for the Free State on this field. And then they built the pavilion, and I remember the first match played there. So for me, it's special. The old stadium, Bloemfontein, is special. And I guess even more for those guys.
Pascal, can you ask you my one English question? Firstly, congratulations with this team that you selected for this coming test match. Just remind us again, what are you hoping to get out of this test match with this group of players? And the second part of my question is, I think coaches in general, I'm not talking about rugby specifically in general, they're usually very sensitive when you refer to a team as a potential B-side. would you take offense if I refer to your Springbok side for this weekend as a B-side side?
Let me answer I can't see you, Percy, that light right now. I have no idea where you are, but I can hear you, and it's weird that you asked the English question. In a nice, friendly way, this is not. If you compare Fassi with Sasha, and you compare Curtly's playing, and you compare Lucanio and Jesse, and Andre, and Damien, and Mani, and Sasha or Damien Willems or Mani and Kobus actually played in the World Cup semi-finals. Well, where were the pairing there. Then if you go, so Kobus I've mentioned, you compare Kobus with the other guys, he played in the World Cup semi. Then Evan Roos, everybody actually last week thought we should start him above Kwagga and maybe keep Kwagga off the bench. Then Ben Jason Deacons, I just told you, I think he's not far off when it comes to a guy like Peter Steff, the way he play. We've just talked about Pepsi. Then Ergie and Salman is in the team, which played last week. And then Thomas de Tooy is somebody that's went to one World Cup, and everybody knows how well he did for Bath now. I'm not going to go into the replacement. So the two young guys probably in there is him, and Johan Grobler and Hendrik Wessels and a few guys on the bench. Then you've got Trevor Nyakane, you've got Tux, you've got Elrich Lowe who's been with us, Sasha, and then a few other guys. So, no, it's not a B team. It's a team that I thought if they played last week against Ireland, it would have been a tight test match. And we said it to the other guys as well before the test match. And that's what we want. We want in each position two guys, experienced guys to push each other, and a young guy knocking on the door who wants to come through all the time. And we didn't, I know I say it all the time, we didn't have a 2020 to do that. We have a 2024 now where we can do it, but we know we're going to have speed bumps like Saturday, which is not lucky to face. But now I forgot your first question, but I answered your second question, sorry.
Sorry, the first part of my question was just, what do you kind of answered it, what are you hoping to get out of this?
Yeah, I'm hoping for these guys to be proud and to know that even SCB's 120 caps, there's a Namibia somewhere in there, and there's a Romania somewhere in there, and there's so a test cap is a test cap. These guys beat Fiji and they beat Ireland in a Chaka's warm-up game. So if one of them take it up lightly, first of all, we'll see that guy's not test material. That's the first thing. The second thing is you play in, according to me, one of the big provinces, which probably create a lot of young players that come through, especially from the school and the varsity, and then it's going to be a sellout crowd. So I expect them, we expect them, they expect from themselves to represent themselves as Springboks and a team that's number one in the world.
Sorry, are there any strategies or tactics that you're looking to implement against Portugal? And second, how do you ensure team maintains the momentum against throughout the matches?
Yeah, there's definitely certain moves and things that we're going to try. They're going to have some time, the scrums will try the same. We will try just to dominate the scrums. It's not always that easy. And then in the lineouts, they have different challenges than Ireland. Ireland is probably one of the top teams when it comes to lineouts in the world. It always baffles you how well Paul O'Connell can do the lineouts. So there we have certain plans. Sorry, your last question?
How do you ensure that the team maintains their fitness within?
The nice thing is these guys, a lot of them did not play, and they've been training a hell of a lot, and some of them playing for their franchises and for their provinces. Ben Jason Dixon has now been with us 4 weeks, and is at all the training camps, and he was, I promise you, he knows everything. He did the lineouts for the opposition against us. Makuzolo has been always with us. So I think this team is very hungry and they deserve a chance, and they've been waiting very long. So I don't think it would be a problem for them to pitch up.
Rasi, good morning.
Morning.
Just talk us through Salman Murat's appointment as captain and the political significance of it, because Salman is from a very rich rugby heritage, a rugby family that is very big in his region. You'd say you could partly say that about the Hartson, but did you also have that in mind in picking him as captain?
No, I did not. You know, when a guy phones you, the Stormers was playing away, and a guy sends you a WhatsApp and he says, I just flew over, and he didn't tell me this part I found out later. He flew over on his own cost, and he went and asked me, they played Munster, because he knew I coached Munster, and he asked me, what can he help, because he's going to watch the match, and I thought he was with the team. And, you know, he was the team captain at that stage, but he didn't play. And he asked me, what can you do to, maybe I know something about Munster that can help the team. And yeah, we didn't chat a lot, but then to find out later, you know, he actually flew over on his own cost and wasn't even in the team because he was injured at that stage. He was a week away from playing. And working with him in the junior box, all the management members who's been working with him in the junior box, he's just captain material, you know. So it's great that it's coming from an area that will mean a lot to that area. That's awesome. That's not the reason why we pick him. We picked him because he's a great leader, and even with these big locks here, who has won World Cups, you know, he doesn't stand back physically or tactically when it gets to line out. So well deserved to him.
Morgan? And then
Yeah, Pepsi, I was actually going to go to you. This has been a long time coming for you. You were in Kimberley last week in that game against Greek quiz after being given some time off. How does it feel to finally see your name on the official test list to make your debut?
Yeah, no, it's very special for me and my family. It's obviously been a childhood dream of mine to represent the Springboks and to play for South Africa. So it's a dream come true for me, and it's really a game that me and my family are really looking forward to.
I was going to ask you, Marx just spoke about the leaders in the squad, and your coach has been very clear over the past couple of weeks that they don't only look at one leader in the squad, they want even the youngest player, the most uncapped player, to perform as a leader in the squad. You are a leader in Durban at the Sharks. What has experience been so far for you playing with some of these players, and what are you hoping to get out of this first test match against Portugal this week?
Yeah, for me personally, the experience has been amazing. Like Coach said, I've really leaned on a guy like Sia, Kwaha, Marku. Those guys have really helped me. I've been with the team. I've had the privilege of being with the team now for the past couple of weeks, so I've really learned a lot from them, and I've also realized that even though Sia is the captain, but there are many leaders within the group, and everyone is just always helping to try and make the boat go faster, and that's something I've also learned, and I want to try and implement going forward.
Do you guys understand that Portugal could be a potential banana peel this coming weekend?
Please explain banana peel.
A slippery game, yeah, like
Yeah, so like Coach said, I think Portugal are really on an upward curve. They obviously beat Ireland and Fiji in the World Cup, so I think they'll really come out guns blazing. I think for them as well, it will be a massive game, you know, playing the world champions. So it's certainly not a game that we're taking lightly.
Coach, you went to social media to apologize to South Africans after your game.
Yep.
Yes, and then now the question becomes, how has the team preparation been leading to this upcoming game, and what are your key strategies to this one after your apology on social media?
Yeah, the apology was actually to congratulate Ireland, because I thought the way they went the second half, of the first half, they played brilliant rugby, and then I thought our team really played well for the next 35 minutes, and then the last 2 minutes we played not as smart as we could. And for them to guts it out at the end of their season, a long season, they've played the whole Six Nations, they've played, and they came over to us to level the series. It's well done. And then for our team, we never want to drop the fans, so the apologize is just because we lost. And I guess after the first test match, if you asked me, what are we going to do different to win? You know, nobody asked me that. So, you know, so we will just make plans in the lineouts and plans in the scrum and on the defense, and make sure the boys are all on the same page, and respect the Portugal team who's coming here, respect the fans, and put up a gutsy effort, lots of effort and lots of determination, and hopefully a good result for the fans at the stadium, but also for all the people in South Africa.
One more question, Coach. What role do you see senior players playing in mentoring these young players?
Yeah, we've got a thing we say, we don't have the senior player. Potato peelers. They're senior players, but they are the older guys. But in our team, it doesn't work like that. If you are 20-year-old and you take ownership and you take ownership of your position, of your priority in the team, of what you must do, of your responsibility in the team, on the field, off the field, in the meeting sessions, then you don't have to be an old guy to be a leader in our team. We take ownership, and if you take enough ownership, that's why we're not afraid to throw young guys in. If we get a young guy here and he struggles to take ownership, he doesn't have to take leadership. He can just be influential. He doesn't have to be a leader. Then we'll give him a chance. And this group, I think, most of them, no, I don't think, I know, all of them, has got ownership.
And I see Twickenham was probably the first, and Ireland's now out of the way. This match is also to start off towards 2027. It's sort of trials and looking for players for 2027.
Yes, 2027. Sorry, I thought you meant the end of 2024. Look, Ireland was, although people think, and we're all disappointed that we didn't beat them 2-0, but Ireland are a very, very good team. And it was a good start to try and see some of the old guys. And I guess one of the questions we must be asking ourselves, why did the guys only come right in the second half? Those questions can be answered by the guys playing this weekend. Can they pitch from the first minute and we don't have to half-time wind them up to get ready for the second half? At what age do you get too old to get to the next World Cup? So maybe some of the guys will understand that we're now going to give other guys a chance, because if you're not going to pitch from the start, we can't make you pitch from the start. We can coach you, we can help you, we can believe in you, and then you must be able to get yourself up after a big test match like that, and then in the next big test match. So yes, we're starting now, and we're thinking these boys can play in 2027. And will a guy like Marx still be there in 2027? Let's see. Grobbies, show us what you have. Jan Hendrik, Andre Hugo, show us. Salman, Eben, will you still be there in 2027? Or if you're not, Salman, will you make it? Exactly what you say. That's more or less what we're trying to do from now to the future.
Guys, let's take 2 more English questions, then we move on.
Pepsi, I just wanted to ask, Coach mentioned the opportunity that is, being paired with a senior player that is the opportunity that you've been given. How has that impacted your game from the level you are coming now?
Yeah, I think from just being with the squad, seeing how the guys train, how they prepare going into a test match, the amount of detail that really goes into it and the planning behind the scenes, I think that's really been massive for me, and it's something I'm going to take back. Obviously, when I go back and I join my franchise, it's just that standard of professionalism that I've experienced here, I'll really look to implement into my game going forward.
One in English and then we move over.
Ras, just talk us through the selections of Quan Horn and BITDEFENDER.
Yeah, we were actually itching to give Morne van den Berg. If Faf had a bit of a kneel, and Grant is always awesome off the bench. We know Grant and Jaden has won a World Cup. They've been there, and they won't be old in 2027, and they will have a World Cup behind them. So we know Grant and Jaden will be there. Jaden I saw him in Durban. He's 2 weeks away from playing, or 3 weeks. Then Krappies or Morne is his real name. For us, his technical skills are just really on the same level of all the other guys. So I think Kobus and Faf really has some nice pressure from the bottom there. And then Jaden and Grant really has some nice pressure. and I mean it positive. I mean, listen, we are 5 guys. You can be 9 for South Africa, you know. Maybe they'll take 5 next time, not 4. I'm joking. No, so it's, and then Currie has just been so solid. I think he'll put some nice pressure in a good way on Fussy. Because Fussy, you know, it would have been lovely. We saw how Sasha can play 10. You know, he can play 12. He played 15 on Saturday. When Gaza comes back, he can play 10, 12, and 15. And now we've got Fussy who can play wing and fullback. And we've got Currie who can play fullback. So I think it's nice pressure, but positive pressure. Not, listen here, if you don't do well, we're going to throw you away. We're going to help you get better.
Right guys, Afrikaans en Zulu.
Daai storie van Salman, kan jy net weer vir ons waarna toe jy gevlieg het? Sien net daai stal van Salman.
Ja, sure. Dit is natuurlijk nie die enigste rede hoekom ek Salman gekies het nie. Salman kom deur ons EPD systems, ons ken hom al baie goed. En as jy die Kaapse mense ken, is die Morat familie. Is 'n bekende rugby familie. En nou weet hulle is amper soos Edswets in die in elk geval. Maar hy het my eendag ge-WhatsApp en sê kan ek 'n bietjie iets vertel van Munster. En ek vroeg hom terug, wat kan ek hom vertel? Wil hy weet hoe is dit daar? Is die weer wat want hy het nie gespeel die naweekie. En toe WP Stormers teen Munster gespeel en hy het oorgevlieg en ek het later toe gehoor hy het met sy eie geld oorgevlieg en op sy eie oorgevlieg net om die span te gaan ondersteun en hy wou vir 'n paar woorde gaan gee en baie 'n bietjie background hê om te weet wat kan hy vir hulle sê wat ek ons by Munster gecoach. So so iets steek maar net vas in ou se kop, jy weet, dis my ouens wat gewoonlik gaan die ouens op 'n ski vakansie saam met sy vrou, sy gebreekte been of iets het, of net been is, ek nie ski nie. Of hy gaan op na Mauritius toe saam met sy girlfriend of wat ook al en vat 'n breek. Nee, hy klim op die vliegtuig, hy soek 'n bietjie info, hy wil die span gaan help. Ek is mal daaroor as nou in sulke goeders.
Meneer Rasmus, kan ek vir vrou se mense vra, net kortliks, wat hoop julle om wyser te word op hierdie span wat julle gekies vir die naweekse stryd? En joernalis soos Poos vir Young sal verwys na jou span as naas bestes of die span, wat lyk my duidelik rassie waardeer dit nie.
Persie, ek en jy kom lank vat van die Kaap af. Ek is nie seker. Do you want me to say me and Percy are on different views that this is a B team playing and okay. Wil jy ek moet sê ek verskil met Percy dat hierdie nie 'n A B span is nie. Moet ek dit sê, Percy?
Nee, wil jy Racing se eie antwoord gee?
Okay. Percy nie, dis nie 'n B span nie. Ek dink as hierdie ouens laas Saterdag teen Nederland gespeel het, sou hulle naby Iran ook naby gedruk het en kon gewen het. Hier's regtig min ouens wat heeltemal uit die koue uitkom, wat hier inkom. Baie van hulle was al in alignment camps gewees. Natuurlik is Jan Hendrik Wessels nie Oxen Chile. Maar wie sê oor 4 games gaan Jan Hendrik Wessels nie vir Oxen Chile bietjie Steven Kitsoff is ook naby terugkom, ek vergeet om dit te sê. So Jan Hendrik Wessels en hy kan haker en loskop speel. Jy weet, Andre Venter en Grobbies. Joseph Dweba het laas jaar sy kans gekry, ek van 4 toetse. Ons het al gesien wat hy kan doen. Miskien kom hierdie 2 ouens en sit helse pressure op Bongie en Malcolm. En dit is dieselfde met Pepsi. As hy pressure op. So, jong, hierdie is 'n baie goeie span. En ek dink as hierdie span teen laasweek se span moet speel, sal daar nie 'n baie groot telling verskil wees tussen dit nie. Ek hoop dit antwoord is.
Kan jy so?
Ekskuus.
Wat wil jy wyser te word uit Portugal?
Nee, wel, Portugal is 'n toets, ons moet wen. Jy weet, dit tel is nog 'n cap en is 'n span wat vreeslik graag die wêreldkampioene sal wil ondop op hulle tuis in Suid-Afrika. Hier's 'n klomp Portugese vriende van my hierso in Bloemfontein. Ek het 18 jaar gebly in Bloemfontein. Ek ken Bloemfontein baie goed. Kyk hierdie rooi kolle wat ek al klaar uitslaan van die koue hierso. Ek ken die mense baie goed en ek weet hulle gaan baie support hê en ek weet daar 'n klomp mense, 'n klomp losies en goeders gekry. So dit gaan 'n lekker vibe wees en is 'n skitterende span. En ek dink dit gaan 'n blerrie vinnige game wees, omdat dit die manier is wat hulle speel. En ek sal like dat ons ouens ons stempel kan afdruk op die manier hoe ons wil speel Saterdag.
Shenge, lesikhathi bakutshela uzodlala bakutshele nini wabatshela nini ekhaya ke bathini ke mabeso batshele indaba bawena sizodlala ngomgqibelo.
Sitshelwe izolo iqembu elizodlala kule mpelasonto esakuyona. Ngabafonela ekhaya, abajabula kakhulu ekhaya. Njengoba ngishilo ukuthi lokhu kusho olukhulu emndenini wami, angicansi ngizoba umuntu oqala emndenini wami ukuthi ngibe ibhokobhoko. So kusho olukhulu and yithuba elibalulekile kakhulu leli emndenini wami.
Bekunjani batshela ba asengitshele manje ningatsheli bantu. Bekunjani batshela bahambi bangavulisa umyalezo.
Yeah, angithemba ukuthi bangilalelile esikhathi ngibatshela lo kodwa bebejabule kakhulu. Yabona angicansi uma uze wakhala ngesikhathi ezwe. So bekusho olukhulu kuyena. Angebhadi ke ubaba kasekho emhlabeni kodwa naye ngiyazi ukuthi lapha khona njengamanje uyasiqhenya.
Awusibi igama kababa wakho nendlela uyihambile suzofika la uqala khona uphuma kwakho usadlala kahle kakhulu i-DHS uzofika la ukhoyo manje.
Also igama likababa wami uSimon Buthelezi owashona ngo-2008. Ngifunde mina e-DHS eDurban High School la engarepresenta khona iKwaZulu Natal kwi-Craven Week. Emva kwalokho ngathola ithuba ukuthi ngidlale e-SA Schools. Emva kwe-SA Schools ngajoyina iqembu lama-Sharks la engasayina khona ikontraki. Ngathola nethuba ukuthi ngidlalele ama-Junior Springboks ngonyaka wami wokuqala out of eLokuzeni esikoleni. Ngonyaka wami wesibili ngathola nethuba elikhulu ukuthi ngibe umholi wama-Junior Springboks. Nalokho kwasho olukhulu emndenini wami kwakuyisikhathi esihle kakhulu leso lesi sikhathi sami sokudlala. Ngaqhubeka ngadlala kuma-Sharks njengoba sengithola ithuba lokuthi ngidlalela amabhokobhoko. Amabhokobhoko i-team esithanda kakhulu ekhaya. Angiyakhumbula uma wayehlezi ewabuka wonke amagame e-World Cup, usebazi bonke abadlali. Wayemthanda kakhulu uPollard akageji. So angicansi kuyena kuzoba nje i-weekend enhle kakhulu abazobe bekhona emidlalweni ukuza wonke umndeni wami. So kuzoba isikhathi esihle nje sokuthi nami ngikwazi ukuthi ngibamele njengomndeni wakaButhelezi.
Awuthi ngibuza kena awusho-ke mfethu ngathi ulushaza ulukubhekile ukuthi isikhathi sakho sokuqala ukuthi uyithole nawe udlala kule nqebe namhlanje kule mpelaveki. Ungathini kuleli lusha elingathi nalo liyayidinga le opportunity ukuthi baze bakhone ukuthi bangababoni nje kodwa ungabona kude badlale nabo abosina kanjalo. Ungathini kuleli lusha la Free State?
Yeah, ngingathi akulentsha la Free State kubalulekile ukuthi usebenze kanzima. Wazi ukuthi yonke into oyifisayo ngenhliziyo yakho wonke amaphupho nawo ayafezeka mawusebenza ngokusikhandla. Ngifuna yonke intsha aya la Free State bezokwazi ukuze egameni beze ukuze bezothola i-experience ukuthi njani ukubukela amabhokobhoko mawukhona ngaphakathi enkundleni. Ngifuna bonke bephupha ukuthi bazi futhi ukuthi kuyenzeka ukuthi ngelinye ilanga ugcina usufikile nawe wadlala amabhokobhoko mawusebenza ngokusikhandla. Futhi ungayeki ukuphupha noma yini oyifuna enhlizweni yakho uvuke njalo ekseni awusebenze kanzima kungenzeka.
Ekskuus, ek weet ons tyd is op. Daar is nog 'n stukkie geskiedenis wat gemaak word.
Ja.
Met Harley Davidson na die game blaas. Dis die eerste keer wat julle 'n vroue ref het. Net bietjie kommentaar daarop. Jou ervaring.
Eers nie jammer gewees.
Dis die eerste keer wat
Ek maak 'n grapie nee, ek het al baie goed. Afrikaans Engels.
Engels.
Yeah, she's a good ref. We are very excited to for the first time be refereed and handled by a referee on this stage and with this team. And yeah, congrats to her to do that. And yeah, for us, like last weekend, we had no problems with the referee, and I think we're starting to get over that itch that we always had, a needle with the referees. Jacob Piper is certainly doing a lot, and there's some interesting facts that he's already told us about her. So no, we're ready for the YC referees.
Last question over there.
And into esizile ukuthi ama-tickets sewa-sold out. Ngifuna ukuthi sikhulume ngemizwa yakho manje ukuthi uzizwa njani, and also from ama-players lawa amanye akusiya kulisi bebekhuluma nawe in terms of ukuprepare, how is it standing inside?
Bonke abadlali esquadini sebengisize kakhulu, kakhulukazi uSiya Kolisi, uKwaga Smith nano Marco van Staden, sebe bahlalile phansi nami bangichazela yonke into engifuna ukuyazi. So la ngikhona njengamanje sekuthi sengizoletha nami igame yami, ngilethe umfutho wami nami, njengoba ngizobe ngidlala ngomgqibelo. Kungijabulisile kakhulu futhi ukuthi i-stadium sizobe sigcwele. Ngiyajabulela kakhulu ukudlala phambi kwe-stadium esigcwele kakhulu. Ngiyathanda ukuthi ngijabulise abantu ngendlela engidlala ngayo, and ngiyazi futhi leli qembu esinalo sonke siyakujabulela lokho, and futhi siyazi ukuthi igame ebalulekile kakhulu leli la ezweni lethu, akakhulukazi thina njengamaBhokobhoko ngoba simele iNingizimu Afrika.
Thank you very
Right, and we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's Springbok team announcement versus Portugal reaction. Very, very interesting. And the youngest captain since PSTF the Toy, by the way. That's the wrong team. That doesn't help anybody. That is the right team. The youngest captain since PSTF the Toy back in 2018 to lead the side. The 66th Springbok captain in Salman Murat. The prodigal son, really, if we're looking at the rise he's had and all the talk about him. He's been dubbed a Springbok captain for years and years and years. And he will lead the side this weekend in what is quite a big call from Rassie Erasmus. So I'm going to put a bit of a poll in the comments and ask you guys, are you happy with the team? Question mark. Simple yes and no or no answer. Go and answer that. Now get in the comments, stuff like that. Let me know what you think of the side. It's a bunch of debuts. Jan-Hendrik Wessels in the starting line getting a debut. Johan Krobler in the line getting a debut. And Pesi Buthelezi in the start getting a debut as well as potential debuts in waiting for the likes of Kuhn Horn, Andrew Hugo Venter, Ruan Venter, as well as Morne van den Berg. So definitely exploring our depth this weekend. There's no doubt about that. And that for me is very exciting. And I think there's a reason for that. We should all be excited about this. So let's get into it, shall we? And then we can sort of discuss, where this is quite interesting. There's also an injury update, by the way. Not a particularly good one. PSF the Toy, Franco Master, Edel van der Merwe, all out for about 6 weeks at least. Although PSF the Toy could be 4, but definitely out for the Australia side. But a bit of a rush to maybe see him if he can get back to the All Blacks for the All Blacks test. So it's an interesting side, and I think that we're going to see a lot of players put their hands up this weekend for potential inclusion moving forward as well. So lots to get through here. Now let's just start with going through the line, shall we? So Jan-Hendrik Wessels for me is, I actually think that's a stranger or interesting, I suppose, is the nice way of putting it, a selection than Salman Murat as captain, for example. I mean, Salman Murat is someone who's, as I said, been highly rated throughout the systems. He led the junior boxers, led SA schools, this current Storm as captain. He's played more rugby this season. He has been plagued by injuries. So, that's the thing about, and I think, he's not a flashy player. I think, as big as he is, and he is very big, by the way, you just meet him in person, you see the size of him. But he's not necessarily as imposing as Etzebeth, because nobody's as imposing as him and Etzebeth, to be perfectly honest. So a bit of a different type of player, but a hard worker. And the interesting thing is, and that's what Rusty Rasmus alluded to, commands respect in all the environments, for example. So he's obviously someone who, is very much a natural leader. When he's inside an environment, obviously either takes charge or people are very quick to listen to him. So that's something that we can't deny, given the fact that he's got this sort of record. But he hasn't played as much rugby as he probably would have liked since making his debut back in, I think it was 2018. So it's, if you look at the fact that he's played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, he's played 48 matches for the Stormers. So it's not ideal because, he's somebody who should have played a lot more. And he's playing a 7th game for the Springboks. He's played less than 3,000 minutes of rugby. And that's largely because obviously COVID, there wasn't a lot of rugby to play, to be fair to him. And then was largely injured in 21-22 as well as 22-23. Last season played very, very little for the Stormers. He has been back and playing a bit more this season. He ended up playing 689 minutes. So it was good to see him back, and obviously is the Stormers captain. But he is somebody that a lot of people sort of question, he keeps getting into box squads, for example. He keeps being around the fringes. And some people have been sort of sitting there saying, how? So obviously I think he's somebody that's highly rated. And that's an interesting one to sort of segue into the Jan-Hendrik Wessels chat, because this is a guy who has played less than 30 professional matches in his career and has not played loosehead, basically, almost ever, I don't think. In his professional career, he has been if you looked at his starts, for example, he's played at hooker. Almost all his starts this season has been at hooker. If not, he's been coming off the bench in the number 16 jersey, same as last season. So you've got a very interesting contrast where Jake White sees him as a hooker, and I think Rassie Rasmus sees him more as a loose head. And I think Rassie Rasmus, he says he can't influence the way that the Bulls play and how they play and where they play their players, because obviously they must do what they want to do. But I think he's been quite frustrated at the fact that Jan-Hendrik Wessels has not been playing at loosehead. So it's an interesting one, that. So that for me is a bit of a strange selection. Jan Kobola, well, that's been, it's about time. It really is. He's very highly rated by Rassie Rasmus. They know him as Hobbies. He's been around that squad. I think he was very lucky. He got injured at the wrong time a couple of years ago, or else he would have made his debut a while back. But so that's very much deserved. And he is the third choice hooker as per Rassie Rasmus. I was wondering if you might see Malcolm Marx on the bench, just trying to get a bit more game time and going into that Australia test at the same time. I suppose he's back and he's played 2 weeks, and body probably wouldn't have been used to rugby, so he can now have 2 weeks of maybe a bit more fitness, for example, kind of get himself into prime condition for the Rugby Championship. The two lock, and then Thomas Toy starting. It was either going to be Thomas Toy, Trevin Dekani, and whoever wasn't going to start was going to be on the bench, because they're the only other tight heads in the squad who haven't had game time after Frans Maherba and Vincent Koch. They didn't bring Neil Bashir back into the squad, so they were always going to play. I don't think that's too surprising. If we look at the bench boys, I'm not the bench, the rest of the pack, basically lazy on debut, so good to see him there. And I think also, kind of a matter of time. Very talented player, very talented leader, and I think it's taken a bit longer to maybe get to the level that we kind of expect him to be at. We watched him at schoolboy level, and I think watching him especially at the younger years, because he came through very early. You could always see the talent there, but I think needed to mature quite literally, quite physically. He is a lot bigger than he was when he first came onto it, a bit heavier, packs a bit more of a punch. He's still probably as athletic. He's quicker around the park, but I think he packs a bit more of a punch and is a bit more physical. And I think that's probably what he needed to do before becoming a test player, which he will become this weekend. And that's going to be really cool to see how he goes. So I think that he's been someone who's been he's been very desperate for game time. We then look at Ben Jason Dixon, who, given the fact that, as I mentioned, Peter Step the Toy in a race against time for that All Blacks test, I think it's a massive test ahead for him, because also, in the past we've seen Franco Mossa playing at 7. I don't think we'll really go back to that, but we haven't really seen too many other players given an opportunity in the number 7 jersey. Albert Lowe's played there against Wales a couple of years ago, but generally it's been Peter Step the Toy, maybe Kwaka Smith every now and again. But I think that Ben Jason Dixon is in the exact same mold as Pierre Steve Toy. I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's very physical. He gets to do a lot of work rate, very dominant in his tackling, for example. And I think that he is the natural replacement. So if he goes well this weekend, I think we could see him again against Australia. I think he was made for Test match rugby. It's somebody who's taken a bit of time to sort of come through the system and get to sort of the form he's showing now. Not necessarily the youngest player, but not old by any means. I mean, he'll make the next another 2 World Cups probably. But we're not talking about a 22-year-old in Ben Jason Dixon. He's 26, so it took him some time to sort of get through and really start to play the rugby that's now earning that call-up. And then Evan Lewis gets a big opportunity this weekend. Yes, it's against Portugal, although I don't think we should be dismissing Portugal. I mean, they beat Fiji last season. A team that has got nothing to lose, everything to gain. I think that's a very, very dangerous thing to try and underestimate Portugal. So I think everyone's got another opportunity to try and put his hand in the mix. I don't think he's really impressed so far. I don't think he's really impressed the coaching staff in the couple of games he's had. So an opportunity for him to potentially do that. Currie starts at 9. Maybe probably the selection I'm sort of maybe the least sort of fan of. I think that Currie Reinach, and this is going to be very, very unpopular because I know a lot of people are big Currie Reinach fans, but we're talking about a player who is 34 years old in a position where we have incredible depth. We've got Pap de Klerk in the squad at the moment, Grant Williams, Morne van den Berg, Currie Reinach, as well as Jaden Hendricks are injured. Before you even look at a Sanela Nahamba, for example, who was URC Player of the Year, yes, he played at some at 10 and at 9. Ambrose Papier, who has been playing some brilliant rugby. I've really enjoyed what I've seen from Ambrose Papier. You've got players like, on his day, Hershey Yankees was obviously back in the squad. Paul De Vest starting to come through. I think that Nico Steyn, the young scrum off for Lions, is a very good player. So, scrum off is a position that we got so much depth. We took forward to the World Cup for that reason. And I think that Grant Williams is probably the future. So it kind of surprised me a little bit that, obviously you still want the experience of certain players to bring that experience to this team. But I think he's somebody him and I think Trevor Nakanya are probably sort of quite high on the list of players that probably will get phased out relatively quickly in the next couple of years because, they can probably make another World Cup. I don't know if they do. But Monty Liebach back at 10, another big opportunity for him. People talking about the fact that with this Tony Brown system, we are trying to play a different type of brand, for example, of rugby, and it does maybe suit Monty Liebach a bit more than it suits Andre Pollard. So an opportunity for him. Yes, it's against Portugal, but you go and put in a massive shift man of the match. You kick well, for example, for Poles, and I think Monty Liebach puts himself back on the radar as your potential first choice 10. So an opportunity for him to have a go. The rest of the backline's pretty straightforward, really. Ed van der Merwe is injured, so otherwise I think he would have started ahead of Kirtley. But Pimpy hasn't been given a game, so he'll be there. Andre Esthuizen, Lekanya I'll go through the comments now. People are asking why is Lekanya there. Very, very weird chat for me, considering what he's done in the Springbok jersey of the past. And for me, starting to look much better towards the Sharks at the back end of the season. We've got Henk van Wyk, who's currently injured, for example, as a 13 option. So I definitely think you're going to give Lekanya every opportunity you can to get back to being, at one stage, the best player on the planet. I think he genuinely was. If you go back 2 years ago, I think he was playing some of the best rugby of anybody out there. He's 30 years old. He's not old, so he's got time in it as well. So yeah, I think that's another opportunity at 15. And then the bench is interesting. Andre Hugo Venter is quite highly rated. He gets another opportunity. Instugo being added to the squad, kind of indicates he was going to get the chance. Ruan Venter, by the way, is a bit of a surprise selection. He was only called into the squad yesterday. He's been part of a lineman camp, so he's very much tipped for the future. But injuries, as mentioned, Sean Klein out, Bilo Diaga out, Franco Marston out, now PSF Toy out. Those are all players and positions Ruan Venter can play. Ruan Venter on the bench is covering lock, in theory, if you look at the number 19 jersey. Whether you'll come on at lock, whether they see him at lock, I'm not sure. But covers lock as well as flank. And so first of all, he's got that versatility. And he's a proper dominant player. Incredibly, incredibly talented. I think he's the youngest player in this 23. Him and Sashfam Gomazulu, I'm pretty sure, are the same age. So very, very exciting player there. Albert Lowe, after a stellar season, get another opportunity. Morne van den Berg, I think that he and Grant Williams are two sort of future nines, to be perfectly honest. Hendricks, I think, might have a bit of issues getting back into the squad. I think he'll need to play a bit more rugby and obviously get back to full fitness. He's been out for a while. But I think that at the moment, you look at future-wise, I think Morne van den Berg and Grant Williams are your two leading candidates. From what I've seen in training, I think that that Morne van den Berg has a massive ceiling. And then Koen Horn as well. Another great season. Sashfam Gomazulu will probably get some minutes 10. More of the point is that he's going to play his fourth test. So he's going to keep coming on, keep getting minutes, keep building that that experience, and I think that it's important for him to be able to come onto an environment whether he's coming on at 12 to have a Kanya outside of him. If he's coming on at 10, for example, to have Kubas on the inside maybe, and Andre Estes on the other side. And even if there's Moy van der Berg comes in, you've got Andre Estes and somebody who's experienced, been around the block, sort of calm down. Even playing at 15, you've got a Pimpy on one side, you've got a Currie Orange, you've got Kanya in the midfield. So I think it's a very good environment for Zach Zulu to just keep getting minutes. That's what's so important. He just needs to play more so that he can adapt to test rugby. Let's go to the comments, shall we? Edward saying, why not start with Sasha? Jordan saying, very keen to see these guys play, giving youngsters opportunity. Steelers says, the Kanya and Tank have a lot more caps than Murat. Why is he captaining the team? First of all, when it comes to the captaincy, Rassie Erasmus never really goes with a backline captain. Lekanya was the obvious candidate, but they generally don't go with backline players captain. They want the captain to be close to the referee, to in the scrum, for example, as a forward. I don't think Thomas Satoy. I don't know. I mean, you could have gone with Thomas Satoy, but I think that the Salmurat is someone that they view Salmurat as a future captain. I think if you look at the time after Stia Khaleesi, you've got your Evan Etzebeth, for example, who could still be around, Peter Steph Toy, but your next generation, in terms of people they see as captain, Salmurat is the one who's been titled for a long time. And he just played 6 caps, so it's an incredible story for him. Let's see how he goes. I'm not gonna chastise the guy until he gets to go. Brian said, Daniel Vessel has loads of talent. Maybe the boss can unlock his potential. Jordan saying, played at one this past weekend. True. I actually missed the game, but was back and started at Lucid, so I can't tell you he played. But yeah, that is a point. He just did play a game. They probably has a couple of Currie Cup games actually at Lucid, I think, now that I think about it. The stats I was looking at is all based on URC and sort of international competitions. Jan saying, why he bring nothing to the team, just apart from a World Cup winning. I mean, I said, Lekanya took a while after his knee injury to get back to fitness. You kind of generally do. But I think you're starting to look much, much better towards the back end of the season before that injury, just before the playoffs. And he's a special player. It's not long ago that it's not just the World Cup. You go back 2 years ago, they already threw against New Zealand to put in, I think it's David Delendy who scored in the end. That round the back pass, for example. I mean, he's an absolute world class player. It's weird how now we're going to bid him, for example, just because Jesse Creel in. Mine is saying both Spearboats can also play lock if we need. You're true, just not really in the squad at the moment. I'm Zodiac saying would have liked to see Ethan Hooker. We need to build these players for the next World Cup. Yeah, we've got 4 years to do that. Andre Estes makes the next World Cup, by the way, from an age point of view. He's not 35 years old. He is 30. So Andre Esterhuizen could be our starting inside centre for the next World Cup. Yeah, 34 years old, which wouldn't be that old. I think Ethan Hooker is somebody and I think the fact that Ethan Hooker's played 1 season for the Sharks. He is 21 years old, I think, still, or maybe 22. Yeah, 21 years old. It's so much time to get him into a Bach jersey. The fact of the matter is he made his debut, I think it was last year, and he's already been in a box squad. So it's an interesting one to see how they sort of managed to bring him in. But I think the fact he's been called up obviously means he's pretty much on the radar, and I think that's the main thing. Johan's saying Portugal will lose against any of our varsity teams. We must not get fooled. Yeah, listen, that reeks of we've got the best schoolboys in the world, and then we've been losing in the under-20 championships. I can tell you right now that Portugal would beat some of our Varsity Cup. Probably be our Varsity Cup teams. I think that's very, very dismissive of a side that beat Fiji last year. By the way, Fiji got to the quarterfinals. Fiji beat Australia, and then Portugal beat Fiji. So this, you've probably never watched Fiji before. I mean, Portugal. But if you've watched 2 games of Portugal, I'll be very impressed. So to dismiss them like that is a hell of a. I think a little bit disrespectful to a certain degree, and I think a little bit naive to talk about a team that you don't actually know a lot about. Yes, we expect them to play and to beat them, but to sort of dismiss them and sit there and say that the local varsity team is going to beat them, not entirely sure that would be the case. Marx says, team is solid. I'd have considered blooding Hooker and Hartenberg as we have an aging back line. Also, Reinach is like 34. Would have liked to have seen Williams and Levi get more time together. I can agree on the Williams shout. I would like to see them start. James still mentioning the fact that was one of the best 13s in the world. CJ still not understanding why Murat is the captain there. To answer your question, why there's no Kane Moody, he's still injured, not quite back yet. So once that is fully fit, I'm sure he'll be back in the mix. Could be making that Australian tour, which would be quite cool. That was where he made his debut 2 years ago on that tour to Australia. So are we going to see him back in action back in Australia? Could very well be the case. Seppo saying Pierce Foster against Portugal, you want the attacking line coming forward. Seppo saying, someone please explain to you why Grant is not starting, why Nahamba is not in the squad. Nahamba just didn't make the squad, to be perfectly honest. Mpulelo saying, I agree with you on Kubas. John saying, I would have taken a punt and played Grant Williams on the wing instead of Currie Orange. I did wonder about that, actually. When I was doing my team yesterday, I was like, are we going to see a spanner in the works? Could we see something like that? Maybe Rusty was going and saying, but I think at the end of the day, that was more for a World Cup situation in terms of being able to take 4 scrum halves and having, how do we make those 4 scrum halves more useful? Can he do a job on the wing? And therefore, can we justify taking 4 scrum halves? Which apparently really helps with the training and stuff like that. So I think that was more sort of World Cup strategic thing, whereas when you've got the ability to have 35, 40, 50 players in the squad, you don't really need a scrum half playing on the wing. I think let him focus on being a great scrum half. Brownie's just saying, happy for and Fenter. Felix saying, Kubas will bring the defensive line forward, and Humber is great when the team is getting pushed back. He won't have that time and space and ill-discipline in the form of a rushing defense here. And Johan's still reckoning that Humber's finished. Michael said, Murat as 26 has been a great captain for Stormers and has played SC under 20. No complaints from me where we need a forward as captain. Jean saying this team is lacking Senna Humber. Going to some other ones saying Mooney might still be injured. He is indeed injured. Kieran O'Connor is saying, I have to say, from Ireland, you guys are far too critical of your team beyond the constructive levels. Is that generated by your media? It's a very good question, Kieran. I think we are very, very critical of our side. I put a video out on Sunday, with the Springbok crisis question mark, just looking at the reaction from losing to Ireland. I do think that we are hell of a critic. And even looking at some of the comments now, it's weird for a side that has won 2 World Cups, has won the British and Irish Lions series, this is a generational Springbok side. It's the most successful Springbok side of all time. And we ripped them apart at the drop of a hat. Quite literally, every single time they lose, bang, not good enough. This player out. It's very, very weird. I do think we are very overly critical. I don't think it's really driven by the media, to be honest. I think some media houses obviously do very much drive a certain agenda and try to do things to generate a buzz. I think most of your reputable journalists are usually hopefully the voices of reason. I try to be a voice of reason. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever a voice of reason. I don't know if there's any even reasons for my voice. But I genuinely like to take a step back and kind of look at things a bit more holistically. I like to sort of be a bit of a glass half full type of person, which is why, as much as I was so upset about Saturday losing, you look at the fashion we lost, you look at certain parts of the game, and I thought, there's reason to be positive here. I didn't watch Saturday and decide, I've got to be really negative because it was just so bad, and the Bok rugby is finished and yada yada yada. I watched Saturday and went, you know what, it was a great game. We didn't play particularly well. Ireland probably outplayed us, yet we probably still should have won, for example. And that's just the way that the cookie crumbles. Double saying, rather have November over Kubas. Do we need both Fife and Kubas at this point? Moody is still injured. Jean saying, is both on the Bok fall? No, it doesn't seem to be here. I'm a bit surprised about that. I saw some people having a go at him based on his Bulls semi-final performance, but I think Bruce P has been terrific this season. I'm a bit surprised that he's not in the mix. Sita saying, is Mosta up for the season? It looked a bit serious. You're planning out for 6 weeks, so it looks like New Zealand will probably be too soon. Might make Argentina towards the end of the Rugby Championship. Hopefully, I think ideally we'll be back for that second test against the All Blacks. We're going to miss him. I'm going to miss him a lot. Hendrik saying, what is this obsession with Murat? Kieran saying, Irish players are given more license to change tactics and systems on the pitch, take a lot of practice, but SA would be unbeatable if they were given that. I think we are starting to move towards that, to be fair. I think we are going to start seeing us sort of add a bit more of a multifaceted system, especially on attack and defense, which can maybe allow us to be a bit more fluid or flexible in the way we play. It's going to take a while to get things right. But we have to be patient about that, which Springbok fans are not very. If we're being brutally honest, we're not very patient. We want instant results, and we want to be winning all the time. We also want to be building depth. We also want to be moving players out. So we can kind of be overly critical and sometimes not very patient about the whole thing. Ishwin's saying, interesting lineup. This is what we want to see. Take the smaller games to breed new young players and build towards the World Cup. Saying Ruben van Heerden is very unlucky. I agree. I'm surprised he's not involved. As Double says, now's not the time to be boasting about junior sides. Yeah, 100%. I think we need to keep very, very quiet. We'll focus on the main team. We'll sort out our juniors in the background, and then we can start piping up a little bit. Most of Bokbar saying, when last did Jan Hendrik Wessels play prop Sunday? Bulls being wasting his talent at hooker. He's just not a hooker. Grant Williams is now our number, I'm assuming, one scrum off. I think that we should have seen a bit more Jan Hendrik Wessels at loose head, but it is what it odd, as some people say. I think maybe he needs to make a move. Come to the Lions. They've given him a long-term contract, but come to the Lions. We'll play you at loose head, and you can cook at the Lions. Campus saying Archia should be rested considering how injury prone he is, and also with Mostert out, a need to blood a new 5. Ricardo saying excited to see Ron Fenter. He'll fit in the number 8 jersey. I think probably number 7, but yeah. Millionaire Short saying Currie is class. Been playing with him throughout my school career, and this guy was made to become a Springbok. That must have been a nice situation. Imagine playing with Currie and Horn and just being like, right, we need a try. Go. Off you go. Score. Do something. And he probably did, special player. I absolutely love watching him. Tep was saying with Pepsi's athleticism and competition at 8 with Ruiz and Vista, I understand and see Rassi more as a flanker. Yeah, so did the Box, to be fair. Hendrik says the Murat is Rassi's captain for 2027. We are screwed. People said that about Sia. So we'll wait and see. And was saying, why don't Rassi pick Marcel Coetzee? He's much better than some of the Bok Lucy's. I think match fitness probably also an issue over there. Mpolelo saying, from these selections, Wales and Portugal, it feels like Rassi is still exploring the depth rather than putting together the future of the Springboks. Well, I think it's one and the same thing, isn't it, really? You put in a player that you think's ready and they play badly, so they're saying, oh, maybe he's not quite cut out or maybe he's not quite ready yet. So you've got to sort of experiment and give players opportunities to be able to really understand what your depth chart genuinely looks like. This is building depth. I think this is part of putting together the future of the Springboks. CP Nunes saying Saturday deserves more game time to showcase himself. Well, he's going to play 4 games. He's one of the few players. In fact, is he not the only player? Him and Kurt de Arendse, I think, are the only, and Arcus Snyman, are the only players who have played every single test. Arcus Snyman didn't play against Wales, and Kurt de Arendse didn't play against Wales. So Satchman Gomez will actually be the only player in this 23 who's played all 4 tests this season. So, maybe he hasn't been getting as much game time, but he's playing every single game, and I think that's almost equally as important as playing just the Portugal game, for example. Sheldon saying, glad to see money on good asset to attacking. Denzel saying, who's injured in the box? PSF, Troy, Franco Mostert, Edwin van der Merwe, Davian Willems, Kenan Moody, Jaden Hendricks, Jean Klein, Stephen Kitsoff. Jasper is currently suspended. Cameron Honecorn Penny would be there if he weren't injured. I think that's it. If I remember anybody else, I'll let you know. Tian saying, big game for Evan Ruiz. Number 8 position is still up for grabs. Kwaka not quite settled. Yeah, I think we're going to see Kwaka revert probably back to his sort of bench role during the Rugby Championship. I don't think he was necessarily terrible at 8. I think that Ireland in particular are very good at neutralising anybody who's good at the breakdown. I mean, even Malcolm Marx came off. We're talking about one of the best players in the world over the ball and managed 1 turnover. So I think that they played a system which really didn't allow us to compete at the breakdown, and which kind of nullified Kwaka Smith. I mean, he did nothing wrong on Saturday. He took everything under the high ball. He carried up 9 times. He charged down, almost scored, created a try. He had that opportunity with Malcolm Marx where, had we actually been a bit better with our support play, we could have scored off the back. So I don't think he was terrible, but I think you kind of got to pick him for certain types of games. And I think that Ireland did so well at nullifying the breakdown that for the large part of the game, he wasn't able to affect the game the way he does when he comes off the bench. Camper says, when will David Vincent be fit again? Yeah, I don't know, actually. It doesn't really seem to be much progress on him, to be perfectly honest. I'm not quite sure. I mean, it was a thumb injury. or finger injury, whatever it was. And he's just gallivanting. My man's in like Paris. My man's traveling the world, getting you. Got a lot of new outfits and stuff on him. Sorry, there aren't two new captains. I'll sort that out in a second. I can update that right now. Just a typo in the team graphic. There we go. That's just someone right as captain. So yeah, we do need Damien Blinson back quick fast. Step in front of space, and Cameron Harnicle, a must at number 8. Hope he recovers soon. Yeah, I think he's probably the closest we've got to a Dwayne Famine replacement in terms of the physicality, the breakdown work, the ball carrying. I still think he's got a lot to learn from a defensive and positional point of view, as well as work under the high ball, under pressure, because that's just something that comes with time. But has everything in his arsenal to be a genuine international number 8. So yeah, very, very keen to see when he does get involved, how he does go. But yeah, it's going to take a bit of time before we do see that. But yeah, any other comments? Yeah, we're going to start wrapping up a little bit. We've been going for just under a half an hour. We'll wrap it up on the half an hour mark. We will be live once again on Thursday, by the way, to pick this team apart a bit more. And I think somebody's talking about having no fetchers. Kroblar is very good over the ball. Evan Ruiz, I think, is Pesce Boutelaise, I think will be tasked with trying to do a bit more fetching. And then off the bench, Andrew Hugo Fenter is decent over the ball. Trevor Nyakane, funny enough, actually is somebody who enjoys a poach or two. But interesting to see, what's the breakdown work going to be, for example. And are we going to see a player sort of being given those roles on the day? People, please do smash like on the video on the way out, by the way, as we wrap up. There's always a very big proportion between, how many people are watching, for example, and the number of likes. So please get in the habit of just liking the video. It costs you absolutely nothing. It does help us a little bit. Adia and I'm Zodiac saying injuries are a blessing and a curse. Allow the depth to build, as we will need a good replacement with 7 for a few games. Yeah, 100%. That's why I think Ben Jason Dixon is in for a big game this weekend, because he can very much put himself in that sort of front running spot to be the next sort of the Peter Steff toy replacement. Camper saying Villiers had 2 big concussions very close to each other. How many before they are at serious risk not allowed to play anymore? There is a whole sort of system. I'm not entirely sure what it is. But yeah, I'm sure we would have been stood down and won't be involved in the next few weeks. They do take it very, very seriously, so I'm sure he'll be managed very, very well. But anyways, we're gonna wrap up there, people. We will again, I said, we will be back on Thursday with another live show. We will have the Rusty Russ's press conference up very, very shortly, and that'll be up literally in the next few minutes. So all the questions you've been asking me, hopefully he can answer a few of those. So we'll see you guys all then. And yeah, we'll have content throughout the week. We're going to have press conference tomorrow from the box. So press conference on Friday as usual. We're in Bloemfontein. I'm currently in Bloemfontein, by the way. I'm absolutely freaking freezing. It was minus 6 degrees in the car driving here today. It was disgustingly cold. So not happy. Was not happy with how things went. But we are here, and we're going to training later, so we'll be able to see some of the new faces, for example, on the training field. It'll be very cool to see that. So yeah, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching.
En Connie Black Label Empower woorde vir my asseblief. FNB is ons woordbasis aan die res van die afwerking.
Tips up, tips up.
Just so we're really clear, we're just looking for a sale.
You've got just over 5 minutes. Guys, just over 5 minutes left, eh?
I'll figure it out. Sit next to the field, basically. I don't need to sit there.
Hold your feet, hold your feet.
Make yourself.
Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for a very positive update regarding the injury to Malcolm Marx after it was confirmed yesterday that he had sustained a fractured tibia in the test against Ireland down in Durban, and a very controversial one because of the double croc roll that he was on the receiving end from Caelan Doris and then James Ryan. With Caelan Doris having got a yellow card, lots of people complaining about the fact that there should have been a higher sanction and that more action should have been taken regarding that challenge, which we assume is the incident that caused the injury that is keeping Malcolm Marx out. But the good news is that while initially people were very fearful about how long-term the injury is, apparently it's not going to be as long as initially expected, and he could be back during the Rugby Championship, which is amazing news for the Springboks. Before we get into it, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so we know Malcolm Marx has just come back from a long-term knee injury, which is why when that croc roll happened on Saturday, I think so many fans were so outraged about it. First of all, the croc roll itself has been outlawed, which is why Caelan Doris got a yellow card. Should there have been higher sanctions? Well, we spoke about it on the podcast between two fans, which will come out later today. Myself and Dan having looked at the incident, and I think James Ryan was actually a lot worse than Caelan Doris. Caelan Doris sort of slipped and then sort of fell onto Malcolm Marx's leg. Whether it was intentional or not, we'll never know. Pictures don't look good, but you don't know for certain that was sort of the intent from the player itself. Whereas I think, James Ryan came in and performed what is basically a textbook croc roll. And again, on a player who's just come back from a long-term knee injury, there's a reason this has been outlawed. And I think there's a frustration in that, especially if that was the incident that's caused the injury, which we assume, it's very likely that it is the case. This is why it was outlawed. Why wasn't the sanction higher? We talk about how, the refs are so quick to hand out red cards for, accidental head contact. Any sort of head contact is deemed as foul play. And then we see a textbook example of something that has been outlawed because of how dangerous it is, and the sanction isn't particularly high. People are calling out for citing, for example. I don't think we're going to see a citing. I don't even know if there is the protocols to be able to cite him afterwards, because it was checked by the TMO and cleared him with a mainly yellow card. Yeah, I think he got away with one there. Again, I think actually James Ryan probably should have got a harsher sanction as far as I'm concerned. But the good news is that initially, when you hear the word, fractured tibia, we're not thinking, sure, but that sounds proper serious. This is going to be weeks and weeks, if not months. But that apparently is not the case, because the veteran journalist, Hendrik Currie, who's always in and around the box setup, saw him in the team hotel and said that, apparently confirmed that he is struggling with a fracture in his tibial plateau, but said that he saw him in the hotel yesterday, did not look at any noticeable discomfort, and it looks like it'll be a 2 to 3 week sort of a comeback rather than a 6 to 8 week. So chances are it will rule him out of the Australian tour, which the first test is on the 10th of August. I think it is 10th of August, and I think it's a week later, or it could be the first weekend of August. I'll have to confirm that. I think it is 10th of August is when it does start. 10th and 17th of August is the the Australia tour, and so it looks like he might be in a bit of a rush to try and get be involved in that. It will almost be 3 weeks today, which will be the Wednesday before that test. So yeah, it will be just over 3.5 weeks until if you were to make that. That first test against Australia, but chances are, you probably won't risk him against Australia, get him fully fit and release him against New Zealand, hopefully. So it's good news, because it obviously is not as serious as initially thought, and I think we need to be very careful with the way we manage Malcolm Marx. Hadn't played any rugby coming into this series, managed to get some minutes over the last couple of games, and now we'll need to manage very carefully once again. We want to get him back into the best. We also want to prolong his career. We don't want to sit there rushing him back unnecessarily, him picking up injuries, and we sort of shorten the length of his career, because we are very much looking now, especially in the likes of someone like Malcolm Marx, who currently is 30 years old, going into the next phase of his career. Definitely got another World Cup in him, for example, maybe even two if we really were to push hard. But it's about managing him properly. It's about making sure that he remains fit and he remains at his best, and that he can play rugby for as long as possible. So I don't think there should be any reason, for example, for the incident to not really make a difference. I think we need to make sure that we really hone on about, and that's maybe the job of the media, to make sure that World Rugby notice the incident, how it's handled, as well as what maybe the consequence should be moving forward. But from a short-term, a Springbok fan point of view, he should be back in August, and hopefully he'll be back to close to his best, which is what we need from him, because we are obviously a lot of big players. PSF Toy race against time against the All Blacks. Sounds like Franco Masters out of the Rugby Championship, but Kane Moody hopefully coming back very soon. Damien Willemse, we're still waiting to see when he'll make a return. Jasper Wiese will come back during the Rugby Championship after his ban. Cameron Hanekom hopefully will be fit again soon. Edel van der Merwe hopefully will be fit again as well towards the middle to back end of the Rugby Championship. But let me know what you thought about that tackle and what you think that the consequences should be. Down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.
Must have been a bit of a long road for you to get here again after the World Cup, getting back to the Sharks, struggling in the URC. Just talk us through that journey a little bit, and you must be elated to be here again.
Yeah, definitely. I think the past 24 months for me at the Springboks have had its up and downs in terms of injuries. So really delighted to be back in the group and getting given the opportunity to be playing again this weekend. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm really happy being called up and joining the boys in the training camp. And catching up with all the the new coaching style that we're trying to play. So yeah, I'm really excited.
And how is the knee doing? It must have been a long road for you, and it must have been tough at times. You feel you're not going to make it again?
Yeah. It's been up and down. As I said, it's part of the game. Injuries do happen. I think it's just working and getting back to where you were, and I think me being here, it's such a good sign that at least I've tried my best, giving myself opportunity to be called up again, and I just can't wait to be wearing the green and gold jersey again.
Morgan?
Thank you. Welcome back to Bloom. It's been a while. How do you feel about the competition within the Springbok setup in the centres at the moment? Because, he's been playing some incredible rugby, and I'm sure that drives you even more to want to put in a big one this weekend.
I think that's one thing we've managed to do really well as a squad. It's having a healthy competition and having depth, in the group, and it keeps you as a player to be accountable, on bringing your A game all the time, on making sure you're doing your prep, correctly, and being the best version of yourself, at training and on game day. So it's really good. It's good for individuals. It's good for the team.
And Portugal have got a couple of really good centres, guys with some experience like Jose Lima. Looking forward to that kind of challenge this weekend against a team wanting to prove a point.
I think it's going to be a good challenge. I think a challenge that we've accepted as a group. I think for myself, just being back in action again, really looking forward to it. We know for Portugal to definitely be a big game for them. Playing world champs at their home ground. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Lukanya, how have you found the evolution of the attacking game at the 21?
It's been going the right direction. I think we've been always trying to evolve our game because the game just keeps on evolving, and where we're at, we're definitely in the right path, and we're still trying to master the style of play, and we're still trying to grow in the attacking style of play. So yeah, for me, having my first outing, I'm really looking forward to be involved in the attacking rugby that we're trying to play.
How much patience is needed to get the game going? Because there were signs of it in the Wales game, or signs in the Ireland Ireland test, but there's always the impatience from South African rugby fans when they see a new coach. They want to see the changes immediately. How important is that patience? Because I mean, the season's still long. There's Rugby Champs. There's still end of year tour.
Yeah, I think it's we've only played 3 games. It will click at some point. I think the alignment camps, did kind of give us some form of intro into it, but it's definitely something that's going to need action, on the field, cohesion on attack. It will definitely take time, but I think the sooner we gel and click, we'll be definitely a dangerous attacking team.
Look, the last time a Springboks side played here at Toyota Stadium, they came on start against Wales. What is the class of 2024 hoping to achieve against Portugal at this venue this weekend?
I think we definitely want to win, all of our home games, and it's another opportunity for us to rectify and grow our game, and I think we focus more on ourselves, and we want to drive our standards regardless who we're playing, and that's how we're going to go out there. We'll try imposing our game plan against whoever we play. It's up to them if they allow us to be as good as we want to be.
You come with a lot of experience, you the likes of Kapimpi, and others as well, World Cup experience. How is the vibe being for you guys, experienced players, playing with youngsters, especially a new leader, for instance? What is the thinking now in the camp at the moment?
I think the nice thing of having fresh blood in the squad is the energy. I think the guys definitely brings the energy. They slot in nicely, and there's a lot of excitement in the group. And we also do understand that we are a new group, individually in terms of uncapped players, and also the structure that we're trying to play. So there's a lot of excitement in the group. There'll definitely be nerves, from the uncapped players and guys with small caps, but I think we'll look past that. We all have our plan. We all have a common goal that we all working towards, and I think it's going to be good for everyone.
Can you, you know a lot of the guys in the squad, that background has certainly got a bit of a Sharks tinge to it. Cobus was at the Sharks, Varney was at the Sharks, just Currie in that entire background that wasn't at the Sharks. Does that make it a bit easier for you?
I think as a group we've been together, majority of the guys, and I think it's easy to slot in anyone, especially in the backline. I think the only it's not a challenge, but it's something that we're looking towards. It's Coach Tony's ways, and I think we'll definitely adapt, and we'll definitely try executing whatever plans that we have our way.
Do you sometimes feel? I mean, a test like this is is a tricky one for a side like the Springboks. Everybody expects you to beat Portugal, and they expect you to do well. And often, even if you don't blow it side away, your fans might be a bit disappointed. That just from your player point of view, I mean, you guys obviously have set goals going into this game, but how do you handle that?
I think going to a game, we always focus on ourselves. We always have our own plans depending on what the opposition gives us, and for us, we don't have obstacles or excuses because of us being a new group. We've got our own Springbok standards that we'll be driving against Portugal. We know Portugal is a quality side. I mean, they beat Fiji, a good quality side, Fiji, last year in the World Cup, and I think they'll definitely pitch for this one. It will definitely be one of the big games for the season. So it won't be just a walk in the park. We know what they might bring. So we'll just accept the challenge and just impose our game plan to them.
Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And we do have an update from the Springbok squad. 16 players have officially been released from the squad ahead of the first ever test against Portugal this weekend, taking place at the Toyota Stadium down in Bloemfontein, which is where we are at the moment. Very cold Bloemfontein, and expect weather conditions on Saturday to be fine for some running rugby, but quite cold. So if you are going to stay, make sure you pack warmly. But in terms of this update, Rassie Erasmus has released 16 players from the squad who will take a bit of a break and reset before rejoining the squad next week or the following Sunday before the preparations for the Wallabies do begin. Basically, we've got a week of preparation, then we'll go over to Australia. We play back-to-back tests against Joe Schmidt's side. We then return to South Africa, have a weekend off, back-to-back tests versus the All Blacks, and then we go away to Argentina and then home, where we finish our Rugby Championship in Nelspruit. Before we look at the players, let's please do smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. So we've got a list of 16 players, and it's kind of a lot of the players you I suppose, would expect, really, in terms of players who are not obviously involved this weekend and are kind of sort of the core of the squad. Players who will probably play a very big part of the Rugby Championship. So the players are as follows: Siya Kolisi, Peter Seth-Toy, Mark Verstappen, Kwagga Smith, and Jasper Wiese, all loose forwards. That 5 of them makes up almost a third of the players who have been released. You've then got Eben Etzebeth, Vincent Koch, Frans Moherbe, Gerard Stennekamp, Bongi Mbambi, and Malcolm Marx, competing all the forwards that have left the squad. Villaroo out, Cheslin Colby, Faf de Klerk, Andre Pollard, and JC Creel also all departing the squad. And that is in addition to Damien de Allende, who left the squad earlier this week on for personal reasons, Franco Mossert, who was also ruled out with injury, as well as Edel van der Merwe, and they have not been part of the squad this week. There are 2 players who have been retained in the squad who are not part of the 23 in Grant Williams, as well as Ox in Chair. Basically, because of the utility nature of the players, there's so many different players who can cover different positions that we don't need to have a 30-man squad there on Saturday, for example. So between Grant Williams and Ox in Chair and the other 23 players, even if there are, even if there is an injury in the warm-up, which is very unlikely, there are enough players and there's enough cover. Rassie was also talking about the fact that if anything were to go wrong in the captain's run, players are only a flight away. So speaking on the reason for releasing these players, Rassie Erasmus said as follows: we have a demanding Castle Lager Rugby Championship campaign coming up, and we've been in training camps and competition respectively since June. So we thought it would be beneficial to give the players who are not playing this weekend a proper break to regenerate. The players have Thursday off, and we only have the captain's run left on Friday before the match, so it makes sense to give the players not involved in the match some time off. We are playing back-to-back test matches against the Wallabies in Australia next month, and then we face New Zealand on successive weekends in South Africa, followed by a short tour to Argentina and then a trip to Nelspruit, where we'll conclude the tournament against Los Pumas, so we have to be sensible in how we manage the players to get the most out of them on the field. Commenting on the decision to retain only 2 players in injury cover, Erasmus said that Bloemfontein is only a flight away if we need additional cover, and since we had a big group of players who are all fully clued up on what we expect from Portugal, so believe this is the best decision for the team. Yeah, I mean, it is a flight away, so anything comes up and players can be flown in, and I think that whole idea of a break is very important. I think that this Ireland series was very taxing on the players. We have been in camp for a while. The Wales test, for example, now the 2 Ireland tests, and it's a very long international season. If you were to basically play from June through until the end of the Rugby Championship, which is almost end of September, it becomes almost like a 4-month window. So I think it is very important for some of these players to have a break. Some of these players went straight from top 14 semi-finals and premiership playoffs straight into camp, for example. So those 10 days break doesn't sound like a lot, but it just allows players to kind of switch off, get themselves mentally prepared, sort of put behind, the likes of the Ireland series, let bruises heal, bumps and stuff like that. So by the time we go back into camp, where they will arrive on Sunday, the 28th, with training to resume on 29th, they're ready to go and fully ready to go to give a proper Rugby Championship campaign go. Because I do think that the Rugby Championship, for me, very, very winnable. Got to try and beat Australia over there. So I do think we'll take quite a strong side, given how recently our record has not been great in Australia. And then we're going to need to go and make sure we put in a big effort against the All Blacks. Try and beat Meadows Park. See if you can go back to back. At the end of the day, we are the most settled side. If you look at the various different teams in the Rugby Championship with regards to the core group of players being the same, a lot of the core groups of the coaching staff being the same. Yes, we are looking to implement new structures in the forms of a Jerry Flannery defense and a Tony Brown attack, and that's going to take some time. But I think we are, in general, a lot more settled than All Blacks with lots of big players who have left, a new coaching staff. Australia, brand new generation ready for them, players-wise, coaching-wise. Contemporary coming in for Argentina. So, it's 3 new head coaches in the Rugby Championship. I suppose Rassie Erasmus is technically a new head coach in that he's sort of taken that role back, but he's been involved with the side since 2018 and heading up the side really since 2018. So not much changes there. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon. So last week we had our second round of official sort of internationals. Some very interesting results. We had a midweek game where France beat Uruguay, a very experimental France within an experimental French squad. It's a ridiculous tour at the moment. There's been racial incidents, there's been sexual assault allegations. Yeah, it's a lot going on in that French tour. But despite that, they did beat Uruguay in the midweek. Italy responding from losing that first game the week before to beat Tonga over there, which is quite exciting for them. Scotland hammering USA. Bit of a shits and giggles to a really for Scotland at the moment in that North American. But the big games were on Saturday. So New Zealand beating England 24 points to 17. Some very cool rugby being played, actually. Some very nice tries from England from both their wings. Sort of showing you there's a bit of hope in the way that Steve Borthwick wants to play. We then had Australia beating Wales. Also a very interesting game where, I'll tell you what, I mean, I think... Welsh rugby is in a very weird position, but I still think that there's a quality side that's going to come out of that player base very, very soon. Japan went down to Georgia, which makes this weekend's game against Australia for Georgia very interesting. 25 points to 23, and Georgia playing away as well. Then we obviously had the Boks going down by 1 point before Argentina did respond from those in the first game. And in Buenos Aires, they beat France 33 points to 25. So a very cool weekend of rugby. Right, then my All Blacks in decline story. I think that the All Blacks in the last 2 weeks have been very lucky to win both of those games. And I think that England have... missed a trick there. I think England played well enough in both tests. The first test, I think, Marcus Smith kicks better off the tee, and they win that, which is always sometimes a little bit of an arbitrary analysis, but I think it was very much the case. The kicks he missed in particular were ones that he shouldn't be missing. And I think in that second test, a couple of, that Martinez first try is so weak. And I think a couple of chances they take.
Scored that next try. I don't know what he thought he was doing.
He's got options inside and outside, go back to Martinez, then just pops it straight back into Marcus Smith. So, fair enough. Things do even out. But yeah, I think this All Black side, I'm actually doing a video on today asking if Scott Robertson's on forward watch, which is a bit harsh. But I think what we are seeing though is I think people have underestimated how much has actually changed in the New Zealand side, more than just the coaching staff. Aaron Smith, gone. Richie Moanga, gone. Brody Retallick, gone. Sam Whitelock, gone.
Sam Cane.
Sam Cane, injured at the moment. Well, I think he's injured at the moment. I think he returns. I think he will actually play in the Rugby Championship. But you look at the World Cup and how important those players were to that World Cup campaign. I think they very much how big of a difference. For example, I mean, I always say a lot of teams are often missing a world class lock short of being world class. I think Scotland's got that issue, for example, and I think that it's such an underrated position in terms of establishing that dominance on the field. And I think that All Blacks are really missing a couple of massive players and in a transitional period. And I think they were there for the taking. England really stuffed it up by not getting over the line.
Yeah, I think it's always hard to know what the competition looks like in a new World Cup cycle, but also between like the North and South. Like we've had the Six Nations now, so we kind of have a good idea of what the ranking system is there. And now we've had like North versus South, but we haven't had the Rugby Championship, which will be South versus South. So I think now with the Rugby Championship, depending on how we go against New Zealand, we'll kind of know what type of team they are, right? Because we still kind of, it's like, were England that good, or were New Zealand really there for the taking? I mean,
similarly with Australia and Wales, similar kind of vibe. You don't really know. Two in theory bad teams or teams upcoming teams. You don't really know where that actual level of performance is.
And now we've kind of seen the bar set with the South African Island series. 1-1, and they feel like the two, really ahead of the pack nations in the world rankings. But you mentioned that England should have taken this 2-0, and I plead that this is the year that we take the Freedom Cup back from New Zealand, because I think this is also our opportunity to do that. But yeah, I think England could have taken it. I think there are really positive signs there, as you said, in the way Borthwick wants to play that team. His selections have been very brave, I think, in the people that he is getting into that team. It's not conservative. It's playing to these players' club level strengths, and it's very exciting, which are all things that you wouldn't have expected to hear from anyone's mouth a year ago under this Borthwick reigns. Quite exciting things happening for England. I think they missed out on an opportunity, but they're definitely not going back with their tail between their legs. I think that goes to show how far they've come in the last couple of year and a half. So, maybe Borthwick is building something big, but again, as you said, hard to know with what really this Razor team is going to look like. Stevie, let's jump into the South Africa versus Ireland series. And now it's been drawn 1-1. The result that we did not want as South African fans, and the result that all the Irish fans were pleading for and got. And ultimately, an absolute humdinger of a game. I mean, 1 point in it came down to 2 drop goals from Kieran Frawley. South Africa were behind most of the game. They were 16-6 down at half time. Then eventually turned it around. Every single point came off the tee from Handré Pollard's boot as we took a 5-point lead with about 8 minutes to go or so. And Kieran Frawley just decided today was his day. All the times that he's been benched for Leinster, the time that he missed the drop goal in the Champions Cup final, this was his moment. And I think careers are built off of these opportunities you're given and the moments that you create for yourself. And he has just solidified his name in Irish folklore, because my word, what a time to step up and choose that you are the man. You have to tip your hat to him.
Yeah, well, I think I was doing the watch along, and even as it happened, I sat there, I was almost laughing. I was like, you can't even be mad, you could be pissed off that, we didn't see the game out, but you look at that kind of the temperament to be able to pull that out, especially for a player who's had a very weird career. He's not a starter at Leinster, he comes off the bench. He's very much a utility player, doesn't get a lot of game time. Yeah, I know.
Ahead of Ross Byrne.
And Harry and Sam Predigal. It's just there's too many tens at Leinster for a start. When you think that, first of all, by the way, they've had all 4 of their tens at the moment, and they had Johnny Sexton a year ago. I don't see how they don't start him. I think that you can see the quality he brings. A proper utility player as well. can play at 10, 12, 15, for example. So, so you can understand what the value he brings off the bench, but especially at club level, you've got to find a way to play him. There's too much talent there. But I think, at the end of the day, it's a game that was sort of slipped from South Africa, which is weird considering the fact they were 16-6 down. But it was a bit of like the sublime to the ridiculous, in terms of we were being completely outplayed in that first half. To then completely outplaying them for about 20, 25 minutes where they couldn't. I mean, this is Ireland who don't concede a lot of penalties. They've got one of the best discipline records in the world. And we managed to score 24 points off the boot, largely in like a 10, 15 or 20-minute period because there was just relentless pressure where they just couldn't deal with us.
And of course we didn't go for the line at all. And to be honest, I was a part of the brigade. That was just any penalty, just kick it over.
Yeah.
The Boks are like, it's so. This game was exactly like the Springboks in a nutshell. It's like try something new. Holy shit, it's not working, and go back. Just kick, get it over, and get this game out the way. Just go home.
It's test match rugby at the end of the day. So it's just about if you're not playing well, you got to try and find that result. And then you go back to the drawing board.
Exactly, but I mean, it's clear this new, Tony Brown attacking system had its, you kind of, showed some cracks this week, and whether it was Ireland just kind of figuring out a little bit more, but things just weren't clicking. I mean, Andre hasn't had, obviously unbelievable off the boot, but I mean, the effectiveness of, Faf playing probably one of his worst games in a Bok jersey. Andre, these like I think it was 8 kicks inside the attacking 22, 0 to hand. It's things we're not very used to seeing out of a Springbok camp, and just things weren't quite clicking. As you said at the beginning of that second half, we managed to get it over, and I think we needed that maybe one try for that extra bit of confidence and the real momentum push. But at the end of the day, we left the door open for them to come back, and Kieran Flory decided that he was going to do exactly that. I mean, but jeepers, Stevie, did they bring the physicality? I'm willing to say that Ireland fucked us up physically, because we say that to everyone else, but my word, I mean, Eben, I've never seen so much blood out of a human in my life.
Dude, I've never seen so much blood in the first 15, 20 minutes of a rugby game, dude. You had Porter bleeding off his ear, Franco Moss had blood all over there, Emirates had blood over there. I was like, dude, I would not play on that field. His brother wasn't red.
It was crazy. Villy HIA, getting his tackle all sorts of wrong. So, his own fault, but gone off the field. Mostert, what we now know is a hairline fracture in his leg. And he, just a mammoth of a human, walked himself off the pitch. Imagine that. No other sport in the world that would happen. Peter Steptoe has now been disclosed that he's injured. Obviously, we spoke about...
Chesney Colby had a bit of a knock, but he's trained yesterday, but also got a bit of a knock.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely battered us, and maybe it showed that we picked the exact same 23, and that the physicality of the first test match actually kind of overflowed a little bit to the second, but they brought their A game, so you have to give them that credit. But the big one I want to speak about is Malcolm Marx. He's been announced. It's been announced that he has a tibia fracture now, the extent of which we aren't very sure of. But that was a direct result of the double crocodile roll from James Lyon and Caelan Doris. It resulted in Caelan Doris getting a yellow card, but it wasn't actually what looks like his one that did most of the damage. From James Ryan, which was afterwards. So I'm interested to get your take on what you think the decision should have been from the TMO and the referee in that scenario. Did they get it right, or are we now just thinking it's a bigger thing than it is because Marx has now broken his leg?
Yeah, look, I do think there should have been more strict consequences. When I look back at it, a lot of people talking about the fact that Caelan Doris, halfway through the attempted crop roll, kind of gauge that he's not getting it right and then kind of falls into his leg, which it does. The pictures kind of look a bit like that. It's difficult to know, if that's the case, if he's sitting there going, oh, you know what, I'm just going to let go here, land on his leg and, break his leg type of thing. I think it's quite an allegation to make. When I watched it first, I thought that James Ryan's was far worse and far more clear-cut It was as traditional of a cockerel as it gets, made worse by the fact that Kellen Doris was on the leg of Malcolm Marx at the time. So I didn't actually have as much of an issue with the Kellen Doris cockerel, but I looked at the James Ryan one, and that was, if you were to show a new person into rugby, when they said, what's a cockerel, you could show them and say, this is what a cockerel is.
Of what not to do.
Yeah, in that World Rugby guide of, video guide of what the rules are, that cockerel for me would be right up there as a perfect example. So I don't understand how that, first of all, wasn't punished. I think a lot of people calling for 2 yellow cards. I think I would have gone with no yellow to Kevin Doris, but a red to James Ryan. I think that his clean out, I thought, for me, was horrific.
I think you look at the Kalen Doris one, and it's enough to, in its own, give away a penalty and possibly a yellow card. But what I think they did, they were like, well, geez. To be honest, they were both pretty similar. Granted, I think James Ryan's was worse than Doris's, but they saw this double incident, the exact same offence, and they were like, well, we can't really give 2 of the same thing because it just doesn't feel right. So we're just going to give the first offender, and that's kind of how they worded it, right? They said the initial offender in the scenario was Kalen Doris. He instigated it. But it's like a double high tackle on the same oak that's just a second apart. The offence was equal, so I'd agree. I think it was definitely either I would have been happy with, I think, either 2 yellows or at least one of them being red, or yellow and a red, because the offences themselves, James Ryan's was worse, yet he didn't get penalised.
No, exactly. And I think it's such a bad look for, when you look at, and I'm a big advocate for it, I mean, I know people have been very frustrated at the red cards for head contact, but, it's one of those things where we hit this, they say it's a necessary evil. If we have to go through 2 or 3 years of lots of red cards until these players get their bodies down, stop sort of taking that 50-50 risk by trying to hit a player in the chest and then rising high. That's the biggest problem. People are like, oh, but it's by mistake. I'm like, yes, but if you're going for someone's waist, for example, or below the chest, you can't mistakenly hit them in the head. And that's kind of the whole thing that the law's trying to promote is, lower tackles. Similarly, you bring in a law to prevent cockerels because of the horrific injuries it causes. I mean, you can't sort of weigh up injury stuff like that, but, a red card for head contact, I mean, obviously, the big thing is obviously head injury and stuff like that. But I mean, a minor concussion, it's a stand-down period of sort of 10 days, 11 days. A cockerel can rule you out for 9 months. It can actually end your career, to be honest.
And cockerel's much more technique based and
it's so much more intentional. You can't accidentally cockerel a guy. You don't go cleaning and then halfway through you go, oh shit, I slipped and just happened to grab him and just flip him.
And I'm not gonna sit here and say that that's the reason why the Boks lost and that would have resulted in a different outcome, because the fact of the matter is Kalen Doris was the only one who got a yellow card. Both of them had an immense game, and Kalen Doris, to be honest, fair bloody play to him, being named as captain and
he had a great game,
taking over the helm as a beast. And you know what? He might have even just put himself in the front running to be the next British and Irish Lions captain.
Yeah, look, I think that clip where Andy Farrell spoke about him, and you can see Doris looked at him like, shit, okay. I think there's obviously a very, very good relationship between them, because I don't think he was an obvious candidate. I mean, I know he captained before in the Six Nations, but I don't think a year ago people would have been looking at Kalen Doris as an obvious candidate for captain. People talk about James Ryan actually
with Gary Ringrose for Leinster a couple times, which was also just a ridiculous thing to do.
We know people understand how much we despise the co-captains and the 15 vice captains we have currently at the moment. It is on our agenda to get rid of. But look, at the end of the day, and I thought especially for it to have happened to Marx, who's just come back from a knee injury, you just shudder and you just sit there saying you've got to do more than that to try and clamp this down. Because hopefully it's nothing serious. We know it's tibia fracture, but again, there's levels to the game. I mean, Varsity has talked about the fact that Frankie Boss got a broken leg, but he's back in 6 weeks. I don't imagine it's exactly like a clean break and type of thing, especially the way he walked off the field. So we don't know the extent of the injuries, but hopefully there's nothing too serious for Malcolm, because we need to get him back on the park. But Dan, we wanted to do something which I think is going to cause a lot of chat and debate. And should we try attempt to pick a combined 15 across the 2 tests?
Let's do it, Stevie. And it was quite funny preparing for this because, you naturally one has to get all the teams across, the 2 different games. But it was quite easy for the Springboks because they picked the people going
Literally, I saw your show notes and I was like, well, there's the 2 island teams. One, of course, okay, yeah, that was easy.
I don't even know which game the screenshots from. Could be either of them.
Literally.
And to be honest, mostly it wasn't that much of a change to the island team either. So let's start with number 1, and that's going to be versus Ox and Chair and Andrew Porter. Are we both happy we're going with Ox there?
Yeah, I think scrum-wise was more dominant across both tests. Man of the match the second test, so I don't think that it's even really a candidate. Really enjoyed Ox's work. I think he's somebody who's had to come through a lot of adversity. Part of that Wales test in his debut, fell out of the box system, and now for me one of the best loose sets in the world. Scrummaging is phenomenal. He gets around the park as well. Got asked the question about how he feels about the scrums not functioning. Gave a very, very polite okay. Yeah. Basically, and I think it's still searching for that journey.
Yeah, but not in the mood at all. Okay, well, let's agree on that. 2, are we going to go? I mean, Dan Sheehan went off with his ACL injury. You probably can't give it to him.
This is the hardest one for me because I thought it was a test of. Well, I don't know. I think to be fair, outside shot, I thought that Ronan Kelleher was really, really good in the second test.
Yeah. I agree, and massive boots to full. So I'm happy to actually pass that on to him.
Because I thought, if you're going to be brutally honest, I thought Bongi and Malcolm both had all right tests, but nothing particularly special. Whereas I was really impressed by Ronan Kelleher's second test, especially after having committed that very controversial penalty in the first test. I think that in fact, many Irish supporters are actually saying that we're so up in the hype of Dan Sheehan, who's quick around the park and very exciting that sometimes maybe they miss the just pure grunt of Kelly. Yeah. So I think he deserved to be in there.
Happy to go with that. Tight head, we got Francois Herber versus Taj Furlong.
Look, I think to be honest, I think this is actually probably more Taj Furlong against Vincent Koch, because I think Vincent Koch probably actually had a better, especially with Mark Props, who play like a similar amount of minutes across the 2 games. But I think probably Taj Furlong probably gets it. Again, not a position where I think too many people stood up. Vincent Koch had some nice moments, especially in that scrum in that first test towards the end.
Yeah.
But over the 160 minutes, probably tie. But I don't think by much.
Yeah, no, it is a split decision. And to be honest, let's get a couple of Irish names in there, because I have a feeling that we're going to be not picking too many more. Well, hopefully. Number 4, we've got Irvin versus Joe McCarthy. Surely it's got to be Irvin. I was actually a bit disappointed with Joe McCarthy's tour. I was really and expecting him to be one of the players that walked away from this tour that everyone's like, okay, he's actually officially world class now.
After the Six Nations, I was like, this guy, for me, was the guy to watch in the pack. Like, we know what Josh van der Flier does. We know what Kieran Doris brings, for example, and like the front rows. But I thought that, especially in Six Nations, I looked at Joe McCarthy and I was like, I'm very keen to see what he can do. And he was very quiet.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and give that to Eben. At 5, we have James Ryan, Taj Byrne, who obviously played at 5 in the first test, versus Franco Achilles Neyman.
Who played.
Who played quite a lot of minutes. Who you pushing with? I think I'm willing to go Byrne, despite playing at flank. I think he was probably the next best lock or just player on the field whilst also playing lock.
Yeah, I think if Franco played that full second test, I think he'd probably have a good case for it. Yeah. I think he was very good in based on the first test, I would give it to him. I think he was somebody we really missed in this test, to be perfectly honest. I think it's amazing how somebody who's a lot of people didn't rate for a long time because they said he was lightweight. I mean, he's now gone up to play almost 80 tests and become such an important. He's like that like small little cog. Huh?
What? That's crazy.
He's well into his 70s. Yeah, I know. Who would have thought? He's one of the most experienced players in the the side.
I love Flanco, bro. What a beast. Yeah, no, I mean, some of these collections are unfortunately just due to time in the field, and he went off very early in that second test, so not able to really assert his dominance in the second one. Let's go to open side. So that's going to be Josh van der Flier versus Sia Kolisi. And then we got to give it to Sia, right? That first game.
Basically based on that first test. Yeah, the second test I think he himself was pretty disappointed with his performance. But similarly, I thought Josh van der Flier had a pretty quiet tour by his standards. Look, to be fair, I mean, it's funny how we're saying quiet tour. I mean, we're talking about 2 tests where basically there were no real bad players. I mean, each test some players had sort of subpar performances. Which I think maybe shows you how close the series was. You know, there
No.
wasn't an opportunity necessarily to be such a big standout player. But yeah, I think Sia, especially based on that first test, probably gets it for me.
Yeah, I agree. And then we kind of at blindside we're going Peter Steff versus Peter Omani, and I guess then again it's Taj Burns. So again, I mean you got to go Peter Steff, right?
Oh, yeah, that's not even a
For me,
competition. He was phenomenal across both tests. The work rate, the pace he's now showing down on the fringes. He's just a next level player.
Mental. At 8, Kwagga versus Caden Doris. I mean, a lot of question marks now about whether Kwagga can really fill that number 8 role. It's the biggest question mark in terms of what the Springboks are going to be doing to, replacing Dwayne Vermeulen. Obviously, we have Jasper Wiese coming back into the mix, but it does show that there is a bit of perhaps a lack of depth, although there is still Cameron Honeycomb and Evan Lewis waiting in the rings. But I think this one has to go to Doris, right?
Yeah, I think so as well. Although I do think Kwagga's got an unnecessary amount of criticism. I think what I was saying to some is I think what Ireland did so well is nullified his game. And not just his game, the breakdowns. They were so good at the breakdowns. Frank Moss even mentioning in his press conference last week that, Malcolm Marx is arguably one of the best breakdown artists in the world. And I think he had 1 turnover across both tests. Kwagga Smith as well. Last year, he had the most turnovers in World Rugby, and he couldn't really get into that side. He slowed the breakdown. I thought the second test, actually, it was weird how people were complaining about the second test, because I think second test, he did absolutely nothing wrong. He took everything out the sky. I think he carried one of the most meters for Bok. He had that charge down. I thought he actually had a pretty decent game in the second test. But the problem is everybody, we're used to the big bruising number 8. And I think the interesting thing is that, we're trying to replace Dwayne Vermeulen, who was a freak, very reliable at all kickoffs and under the high ball, incredibly good at defensive awareness and defensive organizational skills, big leader, incredibly physical on the attack, and very good at the breakdown. We don't have an 8th man that ticks all those boxes because there aren't lots of 8th men that tick all those boxes. The closest is probably Cameron Honeycomb, who still for me has a little bit of work to do from an experience point of view because he's so young. But you're going to lose something across all of those players. A Jasper Wiese versus a Kwagga Smith versus Evan Lewis, they've all got their own sort of skill sets, but you're never going to just sort of replace Dwayne Vermeulen.
Yeah, no, he was the ultimate 8 and probably the best 8 I can remember ever in Springbok history. Just unbelievable. Never mind his rugby brain to go with it. Yeah, let's go on to number 9. See, that's really Faf versus
Craig Casey or
Conor Murray. Because he probably played the most minutes after Casey went off with his concussion. I think it's got to be Conor Murray, who also just silenced so many haters, and said they are replacing the most vulnerable position with someone with over 100 caps for Ireland. So I wouldn't be worrying. And he turned out another unbelievable performance, and everyone said he couldn't play in this Irish team with the pace of play that he brings compared to Jamie Gibson Park, but bringing his X factor in different areas, kicking game was unreal. So
scored a try in the first test.
Fair play to Conor Murray, because I think a lot of people would have thought that he would have.
I think it's I think the biggest problem is he kind of suffers. It's like the issue that we've seen in France, where he kind of suffers the condition where he's not Jameson Gibson Park. It's like some of the French nines suffer with the condition of not being Antoine Dupont. It's just like, sorry that the guy can't be like one of the one of the best players in the world, but he's such a class act and so calm and collected. For me, this next one is interesting because Pollard had a bit of if you're going to be very honest, a bit of a stinker in the first game. Struggled a little bit in and around the game in open play in the second game. It kicked very well. Crowley had some very good moments, but I didn't think it was his best tour. Kicked. It was probably better in the second test as well. I'll probably give it to Crowley on the balance.
Yeah. It's like the only time that you feel Crowley would ever beat Andre, and now I'm looking at this and it's looking very light green and not very dark green, Stevie. So I'm a little bit worried, but I think we'll come back in the latter half of this. But yeah, I agree. I just think Andre didn't play as well. Off the boot second test, unbelievable, really, really good. But missed some kicks and ball in hand, was largely ineffective over both games for the Springboks, which you very, very rarely say about him. So, very, very surprised, I guess, in that. But moving on to, let's actually go through the centres before we get into the wings. 12, it was Damien Dialindi, and in the first game it was Bandiaki, in the second game.
Yeah,
Robbie
look, to be fair,
Shaw.
we talked about not being very dark green. I think this is where it gets dark green because I don't think you can go anything besides Damien Delende, Jesse Creel's centers. I think that's easy. I will not listen to anything. I thought Gary Ringrose was very disappointing on Saturday because I absolutely love watching him play, and I thought he was a bit average. I thought Bandiaki in the first test was a shadow of Bandiaki we used to seeing. He even made a couple of mistakes that you could see he was annoyed with himself. Robbie Henshaw's class, and I think was very good. He was the strongest of the three centers. But I thought Damien and Jesse had two strong games.
I agree. I think that both of their, just that combination is time, stood the test of
literally
time
is
as well. So we'll go for them both in the center pairing, and then of course we have the wingers. So we had Colby Lawrence. They had Calvin Nash and James Lowe. Let's start with the 11 position, which is the most difficult, I'd say, is Currie versus unless you want to move one of them to the other one.
Yeah, well, Chesson and Curtie swap jerseys like it's going out of fashion. I mean, they swapped jerseys this last weekend, for example. So I think we can basically
that they wear the same scrum cap.
Try commentating, dude. I need one of you guys. You're similar builds. Like it's one of those things when it's the far out ones, and you kind of usually try and base it on the side of the field they are. When it's the establishing shot, it's difficult. As soon as you cut it a bit closer, you can kind of see the small difference in the scrum cap.
It's the medium shot. It's the medium distance.
The medium shot.
That's
tough.
They don't have the exact same body type, but compared to each other, they're actually not that similar. But compared to everyone else on the field, they are very similar.
Exactly. When you've got that wide angle, and all you're seeing is a scrum cap flying down the wing.
Yeah. No.
So I think my suggestion would be, and you're gonna have to say his name because I'm not gonna say it, but I think we're probably gonna go Ches and Colby, and then that stupid little New Zealand winger for Ireland who came out and talked shit about the box. And it's so annoying because ever since I said he had a really average few games in the World Cup, and I was like, this guy's finished, and since then he's decided to just flip and turn it on. It's just pissing me off.
No, you have to admit he's turning it on. So we're gonna go James Lowe, and then you would go with Chesy over Curtie.
Yeah, I think that first test, that the try he created, the work rate he gets through. I think he was stronger across the two tests than Curtie was.
We can keep them in their natural positions then as well. And then Jamie Osborne versus Vinnie LaRue, and this has to go only one way, Stevie, because Jamie Osborne announced himself to the rugby world and said, I don't care if it's my debut tour. I don't care if my debut was in the first test versus Loftus. I'm going to absolutely come to South Africa and ball out. I mean, he was instrumental, and, 9 times out of 10, I think he gets man of the match for that final game, because it's usually a lenient to the winning team, and I think he was probably their best player. And Vinny didn't feature in the second test as well. So, had a decent first test, but I think you have to give it to Jamie Osborne across both tests. Sasha obviously came in and had a decent game at 15, but I think you have to give it to Jamie Osborne there.
Yeah, I think the first test, took him a while to settle into things. Had a couple of tough moments, but by the end of it, I thought was really solid. Looks made for Test rugby, for example. So yeah, I was impressed with him. So I'm just trying to count how many we've got in each one.
Yeah, so let's go through it. We're going to our combined team: Ox, Kelleher, Furlong, in the front row. Then we've got Evan and Tajburn, the SA Island pairing. On the back three, we've got Sia, Peter Steff, and then at the back, Kaylee Doris. At 9-10, we've got the Island combo, Conor Murray Crowley. In the centres, we have the South African pairing of Lindy Krill. 11, 14, and 15, we've got James Lowe, Colby, and Osborne, respectively. So, Stevie, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8.
7, 8 Irish players and 7 South African players. Wow, that's actually shocking by us. But I mean, they did draw the series, and I think honestly, largely it was based off them injuring half of the players who had a good test in the first one and weren't able to feature in the second one. So they edged out a couple of those spots. So good series from Ireland, and I'm just so bummed that we're not playing them in November now in Dublin, because I think that would have just been blockbuster.
Yeah,
In
I
any
think next
case-
year's. I think they'll try and get a test next year, and it's going to be a proper grudge match by the time we get there.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be unbelievable. Anyway, Stevie, let's move on to the Springboks playing this weekend versus our long-standing rivals, Portugal, where we have named
the long-standing rivals and our first ever test against them.
Yeah. We've named 7 debutants and a brand new captain. And so it's a very fresh-looking team.
Yeah, I like it. You know, I think a couple people having a bit of a freak out about the likes of Currie right now. Trevor Nikani, for example, all the players who are involved. But Rusty has basically said, well, I've got us Kuba like basically almost 45 to 50 players who they've earmarked as the next group for the next 4 years. And he said it's up to the senior players to show them that they are still good enough to be in the mix, you know, and they can't do that if they're not given a chance, you know. I mean, Kuba's had another very good season in the top 14. Now, yes, do I think he's going to be around the next World Cup? I mean, in theory, he could be. I probably don't think so. I think Trevor, for example, won't be. But I also think there's a certain amount of, and this is maybe something that, you know, it is a certain amount of, that Springbok jersey is still very valuable, hey? And we don't want to be giving away caps for the sake of giving away caps. And I know we want to build depth, and I know we want to sort of, you know, see what the next generation is. But at the end of the day, you know, you still want, when I play against New Zealand twice a year, that for me is not building experience exercise. That is who are our best 23 players to beat New Zealand.
Playing New Zealand. I want to see Trevor playing New Zealand.
Yes. You know.
But I also want to see Jan Hendrik Wessels playing alongside Trevor, which is kind of what's happening now. You know, you're not only learning from them on the field, but I mean the amount of wisdom that they must be passing on in the training ground, and the standard that the Springbok team has set is also carrying the weight and the reputation for what future Springboks should expect to, you know, kind of the level of performance and professionalism to being carried through while they're coming through the ranks and setting their own standards. But let's quickly chat about Salman Murat, and someone we had spoken about kind of just seems to walk into a Springbok camp without really man of the match performances at a provincial level. I mean, we know the talent is there and the potential is, but he feels like that player who's never had to overperform or overshine to gain athletes back into camps, and whenever he's fit, he's there. And now being named as the Springbok captain and the first ever Muslim captain, as he becomes the 66th person to captain the Springboks. I mean, everyone around him speaks about his professionalism, his leadership abilities. I'm interested in the discussion around why someone like Harold was picked over Lukhanyo Am, and do you think that's because we see Salman Murat as potentially someone to take the reins over from Siya Kolisi on a permanent basis?
So I think it's very simple when it comes to why Lukhanyo Am wasn't picked. Lukhanyo Am playing at outside centre, Salman Murat's playing at lock. Rassie Erasmus doesn't name backline players as captains. You know, Andre Pollard is like the official vice captain of Verticom. He's always sitting next to Rassie Erasmus almost in every single team photo as like your de facto vice captain. And yet the minute Siya Kolisi goes off for the field, it becomes Eben. It becomes Peter Steph the Toy. It was Dion Fourie. It's Bongi Minambi. You know, Rassie just wants his captain to be close to the referee. So he wants them to be in the scrum. He wants them to be in the lineouts, for example. So I think, you know, the only other candidate really at a very, very big push is, if you look at the pack, somebody like, you know, Thomas Atoy, you know, who's back in the camp now. He's been around the block and as captain of the Sharks, for example, but, you know, he's only back in the camp for the first time now, you know, since the World Cup. Yeah, and I mean, are you going to name Arcus Neyman as a captain?
No, you just want him to be the bully. You want him to be the bully and to cause chaos.
So I think that, you know, it's about dealing with the referee, for example, and stuff like that. Look, if you talk about rugby, football heritage, we talk about, this is rugby heritage. You know, Salman Murat comes from a long line of a family who's played Saru rugby during sort of the isolation period, played for Western Province. He's captained SA Under-20, SA Schools, as well as the Stormers. So he's not accidentally a captain. You know, he's obviously somebody who walks into a room and everyone goes, you know, oh shit, he's here. And he's obviously somebody that when he talks, listen to, you know, that's what everybody keeps telling us, that he's incredibly his presence. So look, I think that he's someone who has been fast-tracked into the system over the years sometimes. And as you mentioned, I don't think he's always had to... It's difficult to say he hasn't had to earn it, because you obviously don't just go out and someone get into a Springbok camp. But as you mentioned, some players have had to be... I mean, everyone knows, you know, URC player of the season, not in the Bok camp a couple of years ago. Snare Hamba, URC player of the season, not in the Bok camp. You know, we've got players who are doing man of the match performances almost every single week, not getting box camps, and you got somebody like him who got a little bit more under the radar. I think that they saw his potential very early, a little bit like Jan-Hendrik Wessels, who's never played a URC game or Champions Cup or Challenge Cup game at Lucid in his career, started Lucid for the Box.
This is the craziest story for me, and I'm so excited to see what happens. And it's hard to know how we can measure a game versus Portugal, but it's just it's a nut selection for Jan-Hendrik Wessels, and excited to see what he can do there. But everyone else we've kind of seen a lot of and performing at that URC level, bar him, because we just haven't seen almost any of him in a blue bull shirt yet. Here he is, starting,
and always at hooker.
Yeah, always at the hooker. I mean, that's supposedly what his big attraction is. He can play both prop and hooker. Listen, if we get this one right, it could be insane, and probably other than John Smith, I can't think of anyone else in memory that can really play between those two positions. So pretty mental.
So I've got 4 exciting picks in this team that I'm watching out for this weekend. There's obviously more, and I've had to bring it down to 4 because I mean, if I start saying 5 or 6, it becomes like half a bloody team. But I think that for me, I think Ben Jason Dixon is a very exciting one player to watch, especially more because of the injury to Pieter-Steph du Toit. Because I think if Ben Jason Dixon goes well this weekend, I would have no issue whatsoever in playing him against Australia 2 tests, and then right now, tomorrow, if it's the All Blacks test, I would say I'd back him. I think I'm such a big Ben Jason Dixon fan. I've been watching him for a couple of years now. This season, the last season, it's like watching Pieter-Steph du Toit with dark hair and a moustache. It's honestly like a player profile line is almost identical, and no one's going to sit there saying he's the next Pieter-Steph du Toit because that's like saying he's going to be the next World Player of the Year. But I just think from a profile point of view, in terms of his output and what he does, he is Pieter-Steph du Toit reincarnate. So I'm very excited about him. I think Pepsi Buthelezi, also somebody, but like Salman Murat, who was also former captain, but he was sort of touted. Oh, cool, there it is. That's our Sia Khaleesi replacement. He was going to captain the Springboks one day. He's going to play Springboks. And it's taken a bit longer.
Now, particularly in the new Tony Brown system. And
I think he's had to bulk up a bit as well. I think when he first played at under 20, you could see the skill set in the player there, but I thought he was a bit lightweight, especially when he started coming into the Sharks early on. I think he's had to bulk up a little bit. So I think it's taken a bit longer than probably even he would have liked to have gotten into the system and got this chance. Look, not so much more than like Aaron Krobbelar, who got his first call up 3 years ago. But Pepsi and Ben Jason Dixon, they excite me. And then off the bench, I think Morne van den Berg. I think they really rate him. I think that not just because I'm just watching the Bok training, and when everyone's warming up, he gets up there quite early, warms up quickly, and he's with stick and he's passing and he's working. When I went to a Bulls press conference, the Boks were training. It wasn't supposed to be an open training, but they were obviously training next door, and I watched for a bit, and he was running at 9 a lot. So I think they're looking at him. And Grant Williams and probably Jaden Hendricks. So I think those are our 3 scrum halves moving forward long term. And I think Morne van den Berg and Grant Williams actually at the moment could even have the inside track given the injury to Jaden Hendricks. And I think that Morne van den Berg and Grant Williams suit Tony Brown a lot. I think he snipes very nicely. He's got very, very good skill set. I mean, as Russ talked about his technical ability. So he's a really good passer of the rugby ball, which every scrum half has to be, but he has that in abundance. And then my last one is the surprise call up to the squad. First call up to the squad yesterday, named on the bench, is Ruan.
Mammoth, 21 years old as well. I mean, to be that size at 21 is just ridiculous.
I mean, I was at training yesterday, and he's like walking around, and he like walked past Evan, and obviously shorter, but you like look at those two, and you're like, if I was in a bar and those two were mates, and one of them grabbed me, I think I would just. I don't even know what I'd do. I would just say, listen, give me 2 seconds to sort my will, and then we can continue. Because
combust, bro.
Dude, it's just, he's an absolute unit. I mean, he announced himself. I think he was 19 when he sat down Hamish Watson. Like a few months after Hamish Watson went through the entire 6 days without missing a tackle. He had that ridiculous length of time of international games out of tackle. That year, he sat him down at 19 years old, and we all went, okay. Yeah. so this guy's arrived.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a very exciting team, and another notable mention to Andre Venter, who will be following in his father's footsteps. Andre Venter, who played 66 tests for South Africa, and he'll become the 16th father-son combination to play for the Boks. But other debutants, so Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Jan Grobelaar, Pepsi Buthelezi. Then, of course, it's Kjuan Horn and Morne van den Berg and Ruan Venter and Andre Hugo Venter, sorry. So all 7 of those will be new Springboks as of this week, and it's only 228 caps amongst the 23 compared to 990 last week. So probably one of the least capped versus last week's, which is the most capped ever. But yeah, very, very excited for the next game and the last game before the Rugby Championship starts.
And just impose our game plan to them.
Yeah, Hendrik, firstly, congratulations. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
the Springbok setting. Please, I know possibly you will introduce yourself, but please introduce yourself to us. Who is Jan Hendrik? He plays for the Bulls, we know that. But where does he hail from? What does this opportunity mean for you?
Yeah, so I'm Jan Hendrik Wessels. I'm from Bloemfontein. Played in Pretoria for the last 4 years. And yeah, I think it's a massive opportunity. I think it's growing up as a kid. It's to play for the Boks, everything you do, everything you work for. So yeah, I'm very excited, and yeah, it's a big opportunity for me.
Jan Hendrik, nice to make your debut when you started when you went to school.
Yeah, I think anywhere we make a debut, it's special. I think it's nice to make my debut in Bloem in front of my parents and family. Yeah, so I think couldn't play out any better.
Jan Hendrik, does it add a bit of spice to the fact that your big friend, Andre Hu, that you've been involved with since grade 5, you've gone very similar routes and you're going to make the debuts tomorrow together at the same stadium?
Yeah, I think like playing a test, your first test, making a debut is special. I think working out that way it's just add on to it. So I'm excited to play again with him after a few years.
Yeah, and then let's talk us through the differences of experience through school rugby, junior professional rugby, and professional rugby in particular, because I mean, I'm reminded that Grey PE's here this weekend. One of the tries he scored against Grey, he picked up the ball, ran through the entire team. Just talk us through what the differences you've experienced when you've moved up the levels in rugby.
I think it obviously get difficulter. It's more difficult. There's more better defensive structures. I think teams are more set out. Don't do that often anymore. So I think from school, it's just growing. You year after year, you grow. You meet new coaches. They help you develop your game. So I think it's just developing your game every year and just keeping up with the trends.
And how difficult has it been for you to settle in specific positions? Because when you were at school, you played, I think under 16, you played pretty much through the front row and in the forwards. But in the senior level, how difficult has it been for you to nail down a particular position?
I think at school, it's not that difficult to move around. After school, played prop a bit, played hooker, played prop again. I think it's just working hard. It's obviously got 2 jobs to focus on. I think the weekend is I play prop, so I focus on that, and hopefully it goes well. Yeah, Hendrik, I remember the interview I did with you right at the beginning. We got to the Bulls. You spoke about how after a game against the Shark, Thomas du Toit came up to you and gave you a bunch of pointers after you played against him in the scrum. Just what have you learned since then, and how ironic is it to start in the front row with him? I think it's obviously special. I think it's learning from players around you. It's obviously having healthy competition, learning from Ox what to do, Coach Don helping me, scrumming against France, Vincent, Trevor. I think all the guys, it's a great culture in the group, willing to help guys. It's not, I'm going to take this spot and it's my spot. It's the guys around, everybody wants everybody to do well. So it's a good supportive thing, and everybody buys in to the team that's selected on the weekend to help them do good.
Can I ask you this question? In the modern day era, or around in 2024, is it expected of a prop just to do exactly that, just that role, just scrum? Or nowadays, are you guys like Malcolm X? Must you be a feature? Must you be able to steal balls and stuff like that? Is that your thinking at national level?
I think every player needs to have a work rate. So it's not just the scrums, the game goes on from there. It's lineouts, it's scrums, it's defending. I think everybody bring their own aspect. So it's not, I don't think there's certain boxes you must tick, but I don't think everybody needs to do the same thing. You must bring your part of your game. Yeah, Andrew, just you spoke now about the scrumming against all the other props in that. We saw in Chasing the Sun. I'm sure you also watched it about Don's legendary scrumming sessions. Now that you've experienced them, how do they rate?
No, I think they're pretty much explained well. I don't think they're overreacting on how they are. I think he said something in the week about the guys not playing, the forwards, they play the match on a Wednesday.
En inderdaad, kortliks in Afrikaans, as je mag aanzien.
Can we finish English? Are we done with English, guys?
I've got a few more.
Okay, let's do English.
Just talk us through your part with Andre in particular. I remember watching you two at Rivalry in 2013 in Glenwood. You said didn't have the best of weeks, but one coach actually said that the moment these kids get big and start clicking, we'll see a different version of them, and that was 10 years ago. Just talk us through that part with Andre in particular, because you played with him through every 8-team and at first team.
Yeah, I think he started off as flank as well, and I played prop and moved to lock a bit, and he moved to the front row to hooker. And I was still moving around between lock and prop, and but I think it's really special. We played under 13 Craven Week together, played under 14, under 15 together, under 16 Grand Como, under 17 or under 18 Craven Week together. We had the privilege to play junior box together, and so it was just it obviously played out well for us. Good mates, experienced a lot of things together. So I think making our debut together is also special.
I just wanted to know, coming from the level that you are into this, a higher level now, the different crowds, how does that impact your game, and how do you maintain, your momentum within these two spaces?
So it's obviously playing URC and from, I don't know if that's what you mean, going from Currie Cup,
yes.
Going into the URC, I think, I don't have the privilege to play Super Rugby. So going from Currie Cup, it's just that going after the Currie Cup into a URC season, it's just new standards, it's internationally, there's different aspects of the game. And I think that training this week is the last 4 weeks, it's just been catching up and developing, and everything happens a bit quicker. There's more detail on certain stuff, and just doing your part and just growing in your position. If somebody tell you something, you take it in and you go, and just staying up with the players around you.
Lucanio, just want to double check your knee. At first when you started, it's sort of back in your mind. Is that now totally when you run up, it's gone, you don't worry about it? It's normal, some people take it differently, at the beginning it's different than now.
I don't think we run onto the field, feeling hundreds. Sometimes body will always be achy, or having a small niggle. But whenever I run out, I go 100% out there, and don't really kind of think about whatever niggle I'm carrying, or if I'm coming back from injury. And I think that comes from the confidence you build either during the week or training, and through your rehab or whatever processes you go through. So, once again, I'll be running out comfortably and strong. I'll just do my thing.
No more English questions? We can move on to Isikosa and Afrikaans.
So, Hendrik, met 'n Afrikaans vriends, wie is Jan Hendrik, waar kom jy vandaan en wat beteken hierdie geleentheid vir jou om natuurlik jou debuut te maak op die nasionale span?
Ek sien Hendrik Wessels, ek kom van Bloemfontein af, hier groot geword. Ek dink is baie spesiaal. Ek dink as 'n kind is dit waarvoor jy droom en waarvoor jy werk. So is vir my 'n groot geleentheid en is vir my baie spesiaal.
Hoe geduldig moes jy so ver gewees om hier te kom?
Nee, ek dink dit vat baie geduld. En het vat harde werk. Ek dink nie daar's presiese tydlyn van wanneer wat gaan gebeur nie. En ek dink mense moet net aan hard werk, probeer om die span te maak, werk hard by die unies en as jy 'n geleentheid kry, dan gryp jy met beide hande.
Dit is net lastig. Jy het gepraat van is baie spesiaal vir jou om veral vir jou ouers te speel en jou familie te speel hier in.
Ek dink enige plek waar jy debuut maak is dit spesiaal, maar ek dink in Bloemfontein waar ek groot geword het en ek dink waar my rugby drome begin het, is dit vir my lekker.
Jan Hendrik, jy en ander Hugo, was julle laerskool ook saam?
Ja, ons het laerskool ook saam.
Ook ry.
Ja.
So ek het die ou se graad 1 is julle saam.
Ja.
Gogo. Bekhe waphawula maluphi le Portugal. Umdlalo onje kubaleka kangakanani ba liphumelele kodwa likwazi ukulungisa nehlobo nidlala ngalo ngoba njengoba besitshilo empeleni ba abantu abaninzi bathi mhlawumbe nibethiwe iba iPortugal nibethanga ngesikoro esikhulu bazawukhalaza mhlawumbe umsebenzi alwenzanga kodwa imidlalo enje ngokubona kwethu yokuba liphumelele kodwa kubekho inkqubela phambili into lenza kuyenza kubaleka kanjani ba nifumene nje namda ke ngoku.
Imidlalo enjena ngamanye amaxesha iba tricky ngoba awuyazi into oyilindeleyo kwenye iziphumo zomdlalo zabanjani. Mhlawumbe umdlalo angavuleka singakwazi uzenza kakuhle zonke into sifuna ukukhula kuzo. Kodwa thina siyi-team sizixelele uba ezi zinto sifuna uzenza kumele sikwazi uzenza sizigqibe kodwa sobona utshintsho sobona yintoni efuna ulungiswa yintoni ekunyanzeleke sikhule kuyo. Kodwa ke asiyazi Portugal izasivumela siyenze yonke lento sifuna uyenza ngexesha lokuthanda kwethu, but thina kwicala lethu sabe sijonge ulungisa izinto besingakhange ukwazi uzenza kule midlalo emithathu idlulileyo, and then sikwazi ukwakha apho besishiye khona ngale nto.
Ike waphawula umqeqeshi uSharks uJohn Lamtri uba zange iphathe kakuhle into okwenzakala ngelaa xesha wenzakele ngalo, especially uba ndandisandilungisela laa ndlela emihle kakhulu kwi-Challenge Cup. Xesha iphethe kakubi kanjani le nto uba qho xa usathi ubheka entweni uyenzakala nakulo nyaka upheleyo wofuna iPitoli wathi bangathi uyafika empini wenzakala kulaa mdlalo Argentina njalo njalo ke ndikakucacisa uba uzive njani uba nemphefumlo njengoba qho xa usithi fika xa kubalulekile.
Kuba nzima kakhulu kodwa ke ku-understand uba ukonzakala into enzekayo kulo mdlalo esiwudlalayo. Iba libhathi nje lam uba ndonzakala ngexesha elisondele kwamabhokobhoko okanye ngexesha lapha kwamabhokobhoko. Kodwa ke andifuni ujonga nzulu kuyo, yinto umdlalo njalo ebhoxweni abadlali boyenzakala. Kodwa ke xa ndikwelaa xesha kuzama nje uba positive, ndizama uzilungisa ndiqiniseke uba xa ndibuyelayo ndizawubuyela ndikulaa mgangatho lo bendiphumele kuwo.
Hendrik, welkom thuis. Ek het so gehoor jy het al van jongs af 'n doelgerigtheid gehad om die Springboks span speel. Kan jy onthou wie was die speler wat jou inspireer het om 'n Springbok te wil word? En op watter ouderdom min of meer kan jy daai oomblik onthou herroep?
Ek dink as mens klein is, mens word maar groot en ek dink ek het baie rondbeweeg in rugby en nie altyd 'n spesifieke posisie gehad nie, maar ja, ek dink as die Springbok gespeel het my altyd bankvas voor die TV gesit en dit is lekker, dit bring mens by mekaar en ja, mens opgewonde en as ek nou op 'n spesifieke speler moet dink, ek baie respek gehad vir Bismarck. Ek het nou die voorreg gehad om die laaste week 'n bietjie saam met hom te werk. Maar ja, ek dink dit is, ek sal nie sê ons spesifieke oomblik nie, ek dink ek het altyd enigiemand in 'n groen trui het my mooi gelyk.
Everyone happy?
I'm not it. How to mom lo nyaka ubaleke kanani kwamabhokobhoko uba kulungiswe inkqubela yomdlalo nokwazi uba nibonakalise ukuba ninitshatsheli ngoba kaloku iminyaka edlulileyo ndithe ndathola amabhokobhoko ukuba badlala kahle kafakwindlela yehlabathi kodwa makufike laa minyaka iphakathi uba ngunam nawe uba le midlalo yaphumelela le midlalo engaphumelela. Ibaluleke kanjani uba nje kube khona laa mda yokuba nibeke inyawo eliphambili ebaluleke kodwa kufuneke nakhe nisebenze nekamva.
Ndicinga kule minyaka eminingi edlulileyo uhlobo sasijonge ngalo for indebe yehlabathi elandelayo ihlukile kule sikuyo ngoba kwakunyanzeleke sakhe isquad, kwakunyanzeleke abadlali abathile befumene amava, kodwa ngoku ndiyaqonda uba itimu esinayo noko sinamava, kodwa bunokuqwalasela bakhona noko enizawuthi awujonga kwindebe yehlabathi elandelayo babe bebadalana, so kunyanzelekile ke uba siqhubekeke ujonga ulutsha okanye abadlali abancinci engekafumani ithuba. Kwaye nathi ngokomdlalo wethu singamabhokobhoko sifuna ukukhula, sifuna ubona utshintsho, ngoba asinohlala kwindawo enye ngokomdlalo wethu. So kule season I think sesiqalile ngabaqeqeshi abatsha, and sesizama ubonakalisa utshintsho, and I think into ezawuthatha ixesha, and sayibona kulo nyaka kulo nyaka ba olutshintsho sifuna ulenza nokukhula ukukhulisa umdlalo wethu indlela zonke ekuhlaseleni, defendeni, nogcina ento sibalasele kuzo set piece, sisasebenzela na izinto sisazenza kakuhle, and then sithi sijonga uya kwindebe yehlabathi elandelayo sibe noko umdlalo wethu ekhulile, and nathi sisisquad sikhulile, siye kwindebe yehlabathi noko netimu enamava, siye kwindebe yehlabathi nathi sizithembile.
Njengoba usitha ngendebe yehlabathi kule landela iminyaka isakuvuma ke wena ke ba ufikelele ke ba masithemba awuzokwenzakala ke ngeziphi impawu kumdlalo yakho sawufuna nje uyilungisa njengoba ukhe wazipha ithuba ke loba ubukele kumdlalo ngoba usike wathi umgqumba xa wonzakele othi ixesha kuba akawuphumle njengoba sowuphumla kwazi ukufika susemandleni ke ngoku.
I think kowami umdlalo kohlobo sidlala ngalo noko sama umdlalo obalekayo okhawulezayo. I think awunyanzeleke ndinyuse apha kwi-fitness kwenzela ndizokwazi ugqiba ibala nami ndikwazi u-influence umdlalo ngobakho apha ibhola ikhoyo, and ke andinojonga kwicala elinye, funeka ujonge macala omabini ebhola. So namhlanje ndizama upolisha apho ndidingeka khona, ndizama upolisha nami kwizinto endikwazi uzenza kakuhle, ndizama upolisha nakwizinto endiqonda mhlawumbi ingathi ndarhoxa kancinci kuzo, ukwenzela ndizodibanisa umdlalo wami aphelele wonke.
Waterfront, it's absolute chaos. Bok fever has officially hit Bloemfontein. There are World Cup winners behind me in the forms of Grant Williams, Kobus Rana, Oxenchair at Bloemfontein, born and bred, so he's come back here, grew up here, went to school in Bloem, played Corpsies Rugby, played Cheers, went down to the Sharks, and is now a Rugby World Cup winner. Lekanya as well, a big fan favourite. Bloemfontein have come out in their nunges. There are literally hundreds of people along the queue inside the mall, all queuing up to try and get a photo with the Springboks and with the World Cup trophy. So yeah, we're 2 days out from the test against Portugal, the first ever test against the nation, and if this is anything to go by, we're in for a proper treat on Saturday. If you haven't got your tickets, unfortunately it is sold up. We will be bringing you all the coverage here on Forever Sports, so make sure you smash like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and we'll see you guys all on the channel throughout the weekend.
There we go. Bloemfontein Gunners line up. Soos hy sê, iets op voor te skree. So Bloemfontein, maak geraas! So with me I have a limited edition Springboks Stronger Together medium-sized t-shirt, okay? So you have to be a medium, firstly. Now, let's start to go. She might be the next. All right. So we're going to move back. All right. So quick one. We're going to move again to these schoolboys. Okay. First Shouldn't you be in school still? No! No, why? So as you exit the photo area, you can move alongside the barriers yet again to enter the Loch Lomond waterfront at the exact door that you exited into the photo area. So please, we ask that you move
Ik weet niet. Ik bij YouTube.
And through the foot also, right? Yeah, different. I'm saying the.
Morning.
Hello.
Wat ik zeg.
Okay, so, more.
Okay, steady. Anak, terdirap. Alright, anak, terdirap. Ini marau. Good night. 2, 3. Hold your arms. Terus sebalik. Honda, Tanetsu, thank you, Jim, listen right there, quickly. Right, anak berdiri, guys fight, way. Hold your arms to your Joe. Yep, Pepsi. Smile. Thank you so much. How fast? Salman, coach. Like that. All that you kept, stay behind. The rest of you. Daar zijn. Lekker, right, daar gaan ons. Okay. Everybody happy? Thank you so much. Okay. Can I show you Portugal Matchday? Yeah. 2021. Yeah, Varsity.
Je dit ook kan doen. Keer elke speler. Lekker niet als ik dit kan doen.
Can I take them over? Oh.
So maybe just start with you. Just what can you tell us what this obviously means for you, for your family? For, you come from a rich history of rugby tradition and stuff, and just to be captain of the Springboks, particularly given the fact that so many people, so parts of your family couldn't play for the Springboks.
Yeah, where do I start? Yeah, so I come from, obviously it's well documented that my father played rugby back in the Saru days, and my uncles as well. So they've essentially they've been there before, paving the way for us as professional athletes. So it's a massive privilege for myself and my family, and a huge honor as well to captain the Springboks. To be honest with you, you never really think that it's possible and that it's actually going to happen. So it was a massive shock and surprise to me as well, but something that I take immense pride in. My family will be up here as well, so they will enjoy the occasion as well along with me. So it's something we're really looking forward to. And if I may say, it's not like when you captain the Springboks, I believe that it's not only just about yourself. It's about, like I said before, about the people that's been there before you, about the next generation coming through. It's about creating hope, essentially.
Someone, when were you told and how difficult was it to keep it at the reps?
So I found it on Monday morning for the first time. Coach Stoker announced the team to us. And initially I thought it was a typo next to my name because it was quite small to see, but then he announced it out loud and I immediately just thought to myself, wow, what a massive honor and privilege. What helped a lot is the fact that I have captained the Stormers before and Western Province, so it's not really something new, but what helps as well is there's some experienced players in the lineup this weekend, and they've really made it so much easier this week. They've really taken responsibility in their roles, and essentially for me it's just to make sure that everything is running smoothly and to focus on my game.
Ken?
Congratulations, Simon. You've spoken about what it means for your family and that, but for you personally, you mentioned captaining SS schools and all of that thing, but you've been through some dark times individually as well, with injuries kind of impeding your progress. So how does it feel that you finally fit, you stringing a few games together and now you're captaining the Springboks?
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's been a very tough road up until here. But I firmly believe, these things happen for a reason and it makes you stronger at the end of the day. As much as it sounds like a cliche, it really does. It gives you time to reflect, gives you time to have introspection with yourself, and it really shows you just how important your support base is and your family. And therefore, for me, it's so much more special to get this honor because I know how much it means to them. They've been there through the dark times. I missed out on quite a bit of rugby and opportunities, but I firmly believe it all happens for a reason.
Percy?
Can you possibly just so that I can't speak to you in Afrikaans? Can you possibly explain to me? Rassi had a nice story about you, and he said that almost like painted your character about you being injured as a Stormers player, as a captain going over abroad to Ireland. What was the story about, and why did you take that decision, and why did that make such a big impression on Rassi Rasmus that you?
To be honest, for me, it was just about being there for the team at that stage. So they embarked on their first couple of games of the URC, and they went on a tour to Europe, a 4-week tour. And the first game was against Benetton. We didn't really get off to a good start. And I just reached out to the coach and I really just genuinely offered my help. Obviously, being named as the season captain, I just thought that I felt very helpless sitting back home. So I was really grateful to be able to give them that opportunity to go over and join them. Whether it made a difference or not, I don't know. But for me, it felt like I was contributing in a certain way to just be there with the team and to have some sort of presence.
How would you describe your leadership style, and does it also help having a strong leadership group within a team with all these experienced players and also a strong coaching staff?
Absolutely. I think, these days leadership has changed so much. It's changed over time. I think previously you'd have a designated captain and he'd make all the decisions on the field. But I think within the Springbok setup, what helps a lot is there's experienced players all around. There's players that take ownership in their roles and their departments of the game. At the end of the day, the captain really, what he does is he's the face, but maybe it's just the face, but he's a mediator, I'd say, and he makes sure that everything runs smoothly. And like I said, early in this week, those guys really took responsibility and made my job so much more easier, and I could just slot in and try focus on my game. Yeah.
Someone, when you heard you captain, who did you phone first?
I phoned my wife first, to be honest. I didn't want to tell my mom and dad because I know they can't keep their mouth. So I left that for them to find out on the Tuesday afternoon. And obviously when they found out, it was really emotional for them. And most of the time I was trying to just hush them and tell them not to cry. Don't cry, it's a massive privilege, but really it just showed me how much it meant to them. And yeah, it's really special to have my wife here as well along the road with it.
Simon, you obviously missed out on the World Cup and have to watch from the sidelines. My question would be, looking ahead at the game this weekend, did you see Portugal's game against Fiji then? And how would you describe their game plan? What type of game do they play? What can you expect?
Yeah, I think, Portugal was probably one of the standout teams in the World Cup. Not a lot of people expected much from them. And I think they really performed exceptionally well. If we can remember that they actually beat Fiji, which is a quality team with quality individuals. They obviously their style of rugby is different to everyone else. They like to promote the ball. They like to spread it wide. They've got very elusive loose forwards. They've got great backs and an outstanding captain. So we really need to be ready and pitch on the day. And I think it's going to be of utmost importance that we stick to our plan and really try and force our game on them.
From the moment you received a call up on Monday when you were told that you're going to be the captain, what would you say is your motto towards this game on Saturday?
I think my personal motto would be to look everyone that's playing this weekend. We all want to cement ourselves in the squad, and we're all wanting to be part of the Springboks squad for the rest of the year. So I think for each and everyone, I think as an individual goal is probably to play to the best of their own abilities. But for us as a team, our goal is to, at the end of the day, we were chosen to represent South Africa, and we've got a massive responsibility in doing that. There's obviously a lot of players out there that could have been here, but we are entrusted with that by the coaches. So that's a massive responsibility. And like I said earlier, it's to really focus on our game, the way we want to play and what we want to get out of this game. I think that's going to be the most important thing.
Simon, you talked about coming back in the darker times with injuries, but just from a personal point of view, not just as a captain, being involved in the Irish series and actually playing there, except from your debut as a Springbok, that was probably the biggest test you were involved in. How much did that mean for you personally, and what do you take into tomorrow's test?
Yeah, I think that was probably arguably one of the bigger test matches that I've played. I think it's about 7 test matches now that I've played, and to be part of that really meant a lot to me. I felt that the coaches do trust me on a personal level, so it's always nice to be included in any matchday 23, and to get a taste of world number 1 versus world number 2 is really, really invaluable. And the learnings we took from that series is really something that we'll take with us for the rest of our campaign and season to come.
Coach, obviously lots of changes this weekend. Obviously the Ireland series is one of the cases of putting out your best team and stuff like that. Is it safe to say that this is now really the start of sort of maybe the next generation? We saw a few players against Wales, but now a lot more chances. And how do you sort of balance that now, Rugby Championship, giving the exposure whilst trying to keep the results going the right way?
Yeah, I think from the coaching staff, it was always part of the plan that when we, after playing against Ireland, and then if we get an opportunity, for example, playing against Portugal, where we can also give some guys also opportunities. It's a big thing for us to build squad depth. And to be honest, yes, we've got a big goal, which is 2027 as a project. Where we want to build and make sure that we're at our best when it comes to that. But once on the other side again, remember the world rankings will be key, so every game counts, so you want to make sure for the next 2 seasons, at least if we can maintain that status of being number 1, it will give us a better, probably possible draw for the next World Cup, probably not to show maybe later in 2025, where they're going to do the World Cup draw for the next World Cup. So I think for every game for us, it's going to be massive, it's going to count. And the team that we've selected, once again, I think it's a team that is strong enough to perform and produce the results for us. And a lot of those guys, it's a well-deserved chance for them. I know, I've seen some of them. They've worked very hard to be where they are. And once again, on the other side, congratulations to Moon. I remember his first game with our team as Springboks. He just stood out at the back with the props. That's how much it was tough for him when he first joined our squad. I think, I'm not sure it was 2021 or 2020 in Stellenbosch. So I've seen him as a youngster. I've coached him at the under-20s in 2017 as a 19-year-old. And one thing I can be honest about is that it's been coming. He's always been one of these special leaders, good human being. Even from school, he was a captain SA schools, SA under-20s. So I think for him, it was a matter of when the opportunity comes for him, probably I know one thing for sure, he was ready for that opportunity. So yes, we've got a strong team, and hopefully also we can also produce for the people of Bloemfontein. I think that's one place where I feel like, we owe them big time, because the last time we played against Wales, we lost in that last couple of minutes in the game. So hopefully we can give them a good show tomorrow.
Again?
Zandile, apart from giving guys opportunity, looking ahead to the Rugby Championship, is there anything you're going to be able to take from tomorrow's game going into the Rugby Championship?
Yes, for sure, Ken. Listen, I think the field is still open for every player who's in our squad. We have to select a squad of 30 next week for the Rugby Championship. And once again, if some of these boys, they perform tomorrow, chances they might also be part of that squad comes next week. And so it's a very, very important game for us, And like I said again, the future of our team, if we talk about Project 2027, I think most of the players that will be playing tomorrow, they will determine how successful it will be, that project for 2027. So I am excited to see some of those youngsters, most especially if you look at a guy like Morne van der Berg, coming from the Lions, a team normally where they don't even go to the playoffs, but that boy will pitch up week in, week out, and he's a very tough boy. And normally to what Faf normally offers to us, I think I see a copy and paste on him. So I'm excited to see some of the youngsters.
Question to both of you. Something happened in the last game against Ireland, first couple of minutes, that never happened before. Both our locks came bloody from the field. It seems like deliberate, and then they counter our locks from the 5 line out, brilliantly, within seconds. How did you, first up, did you figure out what happened in the first couple of minutes? And second up, how to be better in a rocks from 10 meters out to score tries, and probably that's where you lost the game in Ireland. I just want to hear that from both of you.
I think I'll catch that hospital pass. I'll take it. The thing is, those who were in the media conference last week on Friday, and you remember what I said about the Irish side, they're one of the best teams in the world. And once again, they've got a lot of tactics they're using around the game, especially on the breakdowns. And they get away with it, and exactly what happened last week. We knew that was their plan. We were just disappointed with the way we started the game. I don't think we started with the right intensity, the way we started. And they were physical, they pitched on. And that first half was actually probably so far one of our worst first half so far, because we've only played 3 games, And when we played in Pretoria, I think we've set the tone nicely. We were the most physical team when we started the game, and we saw at the end, it worked for us. So we have to congratulate them for the win. Even though we were disappointed and very sad, the thing is about them, they don't go away. They keep on fighting, they keep on trying. And like I said again, yes, they get away with a lot of things, but it's not in our hands. We must make sure that also whenever we get a chance, we have to pitch up. So
and you worked on that a ruck from the line out far from town?
Yeah, for sure. We knew that it was coming, and we've prepped for it during the week. But once again, they executed that plan better than us. And we had a good chat also with our players during halftime, and a lot of things we've managed to fix at least in that second half. But once again, like I said to you, they've stayed in the game, and the opportunity when it came for them, they've capitalized with those drop goals, which is, we have to say, well done to them also.
Coach, how important has it been not to overreact from last week and stick to the plan and having full confidence that it is going to work?
I must say it was tough because a lot of us we were deeply hurt with that loss, because I know as a team we've really, really worked very hard, and the players were also disappointed, and it shows the amount of how can I put it? Because a lot of us, we really, really worked hard, and we really wanted to win the series and give it to our people back at home after the World Cup, that's in the past we couldn't play in front of our home crowd, and to see the supporters, most especially starting from Pretoria, and then even Durban was another level also when it comes to the vibe and the people the way they're supporting, and we felt after the game the quietness where people that were really also hurt with that loss. So it would have been nice to finish the series very well and win the series. But once again, it's part of the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't lose. And one thing that I know for sure, in a lot of tough losses that we had in the past, we've always bounced back nicely and strong as a team. So hopefully that will set a tone also for us throughout the season.
Ken?
No.
You happy?
No, yeah.
Stian, and then Daniso, and then Percy.
Salman, you obviously filling boots of Sia, who's become worldwide such a great leader. Did he have any message for you, and just how do you feel about stepping into those boots as well?
Yeah, he's obviously that's big shoes to fill. And Sia's, like you so rightfully mentioned, that he's become an inspirational leader all over the world. And I think his contribution this week has really been invaluable. First thing he told me was congratulations, and he said, "Don't ever take it lightly. Enjoy the occasion and really cherish it." So that's really what I'm gonna do this weekend. And yeah, he's helped me with managing the players and really advised me not to worry about anything, just focus on my game first of all, which I fully agree with him. But to have him, in your back pocket is really second to none, and someone that I can call whenever I need. So I'll definitely be doing that tonight.
And you, sir?
Rustic, you know and understand representation better than anyone else, especially the rugby circles. When you look at Salman being given an opportunity to become a Springbok captain, how much does it resonate, especially with Salman's area that comes with that has a very big All Black supporter base, but slowly but surely over the past 6 to 8 years, there's been a gradual transition into supporting the Springboks.
I think that's what we stand for as a team, as a Springboks. We always want to represent everyone in South Africa. We're not just representing us because we are black, and we represent everyone in South Africa. And one thing about, again, the opportunity that Salman has got, I think it's a well-deserved opportunity. He has really worked very hard, and once again, I'm very proud for his family. I know his parents very well. I've met them a couple of times, and I know how much they invest in supporting Salman. So for him now to get an opportunity, I think it's a great thing. And once again, like you've mentioned, a lot of our friends, in the past, they were like these big All Blacks supporters. And I've got a couple of friends that at least I keep on, probably after every game, I keep on welcoming them back to say, welcome home, that's exactly what we need as a country, And there are reasons to support the other side. I respect them. It's their reasons. But once again, I think the direction where we are going as a country, I think it's something that is very, very special to see a lot of South Africans being united behind our Springbok team. And once again, I'm going to say this, Kanyiso, is that we don't take the positions that where we're sitting now for granted, because we know it's not about us. Gone are the days where, okay, it's about Mzwandile stick now. getting an opportunity. I have to make sure in the position where I am now, I make it also possible for the future coaches. I'm talking about black and white and colored. Those who are young coaches out there who's got a dream to be sitting in the same place as me, I need to make sure that I leave this place in the better place for whoever's going to step up next time. So it's a privilege, it's an honor, and every time when we sit here, every game you get selected, it's something that is special and we don't take it for granted.
Can I possibly just get the views of both of you colleagues, please? Someone can I just ask you, a lot has been said about this historic match, Portugal playing the first time here, someone Marx making history, but then there's only a one-star woman's going to be in the middle tomorrow. What is your approach to this referee making her, not a debut, but an historic match versus the world champions? Coach, can I ask you, how have you guys spoken to the leadership in the squad on the approach towards this referee? Because a lot of eyes on the Springboks, how they treat match officials.
I think for us as a team, obviously it changes. To be honest, it doesn't really change our approach. We always treat our refs with respect, with the utmost respect. Holly, she's obviously a well-deserved referee to get this position. She's showed over the years in the URC in particular that she's a very capable ref. I haven't worked with her yet, but obviously from the games that I've watched, she's been really exceptional. And congrats to her as well for her first test match. It's well-deserved, like I said. But for us as a team, it's really, we've got a certain standard around our game, and we also want to treat the refs with utmost respect, and it doesn't really change from ref to ref.
I think someone summarized it by just one word, with respect. That's one thing that we as a Springbok, we've done our research, and we know that Oli is she's a respected match official in URC, and I've watched a couple of games where she's always in the middle, and I like her confidence in how she communicates with the players, So tomorrow, actually, I must also congratulate her, first time refereeing the Springboks, and well-deserved appointment, And once again, if you look at the personnel that's sitting next to me, I think he's one of probably the best guys to be able to work with her on the field, Otherwise, the rest of the players, we won't say much on the ref. That's not how we operate, The captain will work with the refs. The ref to the players, they will just make sure that we play our game. And congrats again to her, and hopefully everything will go well tomorrow. And it's actually, sorry, let me finish by saying this. Well done to World Rugby for empowering women.
Yeah.
Well done for bringing the change, and that is what we talk about when we talk about transformation. People always think about transformation as black and white. For World Rugby to make a decision to give an opportunity to ref top tier nations, that's exactly what we need in our game. We're gonna, one thing for sure I know, we're gonna have more female refs, more especially after tomorrow, getting an opportunity to ref the Springboks. I know there will be ladies in South Africa that will love also to be match officials. We know Amy's been doing the job, but we need more of them being involved in our game. So congrats to her.
And Salman, with the captain's run, did you have a scrum? And how was the pitch? The Cheetahs complained with the first match day. They said it was slippery.
We actually thought that the surface was really nice. Coach Dan spoke to us, and he agrees. He thinks, I'm not sure if it's because he's from the Free State, but he feels that it's probably one of the best surfaces in the country. So we'll maak hom klein soos altyd. I think the surface is good. Coach.
Guys, unfortunately we're running out of time, so last English question, yeah? Rustics, with new debutants in the team, when was the time where you said, my job is done?
It can never be done. But once again, whenever I see a youngster getting an opportunity, it brings a smile into my heart, because I know a lot of them, like I said, I've worked with them since a young age. I'm very, very passionate about young guys, getting an opportunity, And if we talk about our South African rugby to be in the healthy state where we are currently, I think we need more of them coming through. So once again, remember the guys that have won the World Cup for us from 2019 and 2023. They're not getting young. So we have to make sure that we've got a solid plan in place and to give them opportunities now and then. I think that's exactly what we need as a team. And once again, I'm excited to see a couple of them getting an opportunity tomorrow, and congratulations to all of them.
Can you see? Is it goes up?
You can ask them. Okay, sure.
Let's give some break.
That's the ungaphendula ngesilungu.
Okay. I will when a language if I.
Okay.
Between Xhosa and English.
Ndiyabulela.
Sure.
Bloemfontein people haven't always felt included. In fact, they felt left out most of the time. The trophy tours also being a bit of an issue. Have you felt the love from them since arriving here earlier this week? Have you felt that they really appreciate this opportunity? And also, do you sense a bit of disappointment from them from not seeing certain Springboks, especially the likes of Bongi and Marx, who are from around this area?
Just a reminder, I come from a place called Port Elizabeth, Kabech. There was no trophy tour also there. There's places in South Africa that also didn't have trophy tours, you know. If it was up to us, trust me, we would visit every city in South Africa. That's how we respect our supporters. Unfortunately, some of our players, they've got contracts with their unions, so we had to release them on time. So we can't really visit everywhere in South Africa. But once again, from my side, the best support and compliment you can get from the people of Bloemfontein. But the moment that the game was sold out, that shows that it's not just a talk. They're putting the action that they really appreciate the Springboks. So the game being sold out, you know, from probably a few weeks back, you know, it shows the sign, okay, they really appreciate it. That's the most welcoming you can get. And since we've been around here, besides the first probably 2 days, I think the weather conditions also have been good, nice and dry, but it's cold. But it's cold here. But otherwise, no, it's been a good, warm welcome from the people around. Also, we've got a couple of coaches that were also joining our training sessions, you know. So I think the people of Bloemfontein, we can't falter them with anything. They've been supportive towards us, and they've been great. And once again, to have a sold-out game against Portugal, I think it's something that is very special. And once again, I know it's going to be a great vibe because there's going to be a lot of Portuguese people that are based in South Africa. A lot of them, they've been excited that I know. So I think it's going to be a special occasion.
There was actually at the mall yesterday a couple of players that went with the World Cup trophy. So I'll send you the release later. Okay, you goes up.
Plastic, njengoba-ke thoba imibuzo Charles ngizasho ngathi plastic njengoba-ke likhili ikhasi litsha for indebe abadelane la ikusangana nekuba ngizawugibisela amathuba kwabadlali abatsha ke lokho ithuba-ke balisebenzele.
Iyasivuyisa kakhulu leyo nto wena Khanyisa, uze ukhumbule kaloku uba ubuilda i-squad depth yethu into ebalulekileyo because akhona amaqela amaninzi kaloku ayenza isiphoso athi because of bazazi bane-squad sabo abasebenzisa week in week out balibale about the future. So xa sithetha thina nge-project 2027 apho sifuna ukuthi make sure uba sine-team strong and also with ibalance enhle pha kuyo. Ibalulekile kaloku uba siphe abafana abancane i-opportunity ngoba uzikhumbule kaloku abafana njengoSiya Kolisi no-Eben iminyaka ihamba yabona bayakhula. So kubalulekile ukuthi uba ibalance siyayenza sithi make sure uba sipha abafana abancane i-opportunity and xa ufuna ubuild i-future kubalulekile uba abafana abancane nabo ufuna kubanike i-experience ubadlalise. I-experience kaloku awuyifumani wena ngokuhlala ebhedini wena Khanyisa yabo umane ucofa i-remote. Experience ufumana ngosube sebaleni and then sometimes siyayazi uba bazawuzenza iziphoso yabona bazawuzenza iziphoso and ezaziphoso ngezi bakhulisayo yabona laa nto ebalulekile uba most yabo gomso sibanikela opportunity and bakwazi uyifilisha nabo intoni i-pressure from even naki-supporters.
Xa ndithatha ke impendulo yakhe kuba lula nzima kangakanani na-ke uhamba namda yokufuneke nidlale kakuhle kodwa ngapha nilungise nophuhliso kuba ngamanye amaxesha ezandlela ziyakwazi udibana amanye amaxesha zikwazi uphinda kohlukana ke ngoku especially uba kusekho ne-Rugby Championship apho ke njengoba benibonile ihlobo ke kuqunjwe ngalo emva kwale bethu kule veki ipheleyo akuzothandwa uba ke nithi nityelele ngapha xa likhona All Blacks ngapha zingahambi kakuhle zibhombi.
Akubalulekile wena Khanyisa uba sidlale kakuhle. Bayayazi kamandi ne-players zethu uba even into besiyithetha ngayo apha phakathi evekini uba indlela esibesitreyina ngayo nendlela esidlala ngayo ibiza izitandard zethu ze-Springbok akho nto itshintshileyo. I-mindset yethu sithe make sure uba sipreparisha for the test match rugby. So but once again njengoba besenditshile ukuba zizawuba khona iziphoso But into ebalulekile wona kanye as long as i-players zethu sizathi make sure bona they keep trying apha ebaleni yeyona nto ibalulekileyo leyo. And if bangaba wenza is mistake that I think sometimes awuzokhula yabona. So if bangaba zenzekile iziphoso ngomso it's part of iland ukhula oko yabona. So but once again ndiyanqwenela abadlali bafumane ithuba lokuqala ba-performe kakuhle because siyabanida kaloku xa funeka sithathe nge-future items eMzantsi Afrika, and most yabo actually bonke bayayideserve la opportunity. So ndiyayazi ke basebenzi kakhulu. So ndabanqwenela impumelelo ngomso nabo.
Last isiXhosa question.
isiXhosa.
Bathongathile nje ngoSalman man uvuya kwakho ngoba izindaba zaSalman ngendikwa echonga abantu zabamkhokhethe embekambe kuwe imali kanjani.
Inhliziyo yami ibixolile kawon andizukuphosela tata. Ibixolile inhliziyo yami isendaweni evuyayo kakhulu because of lo mfana kaloku ndimazi from ngo-2017 ndisebenza naye phaa kwi-junior box unyaka wakhe wokuqala ephuma esikolweni, and ndayibona indlela amatured ngayo at the young age yabona, and uzukhumbule ne-credentials zakhe as a leader from esikolweni sakhe yabona, nakwi-Craven Week i-SA Schools wayekhokhela phaa. So mna into ebendiyazi uba eli thuba liyeza wena tata ne, but bendingayazi uba uzalifumana nini yabona. So I think ngoyena mdlali endimaziyo ondikhule naye ndisebenza naye, knowing that ba ithuba lakhe liyaze lifike, and balifike kule veki, and ndiyamvuyela kakhulu, ndivuyela nefamily yakhe because ndiyazi uba abazali bakhe bayamsapota bamxhasa kakhulu. So intle laa nto siyibonayo, and uSalman uthethe into ebalulekileyo apha earlier on, bakhona abangazange balifumane la thuba, wenza utata wakhe njenge-reference yabona, ukhumbule